Me and the Lord, we got an understanding.
We're on a mission from God.
They say I need some Rogaine to put in my hair. Work it out at the gym to fit my underwear. Oakley makes the shades to transform a tool. You'd hate for the kids to think that you lost your cool. I'ma do the things that I wanna do. I ain't got a thing to prove to you. I'll eat my candy with a fork and beans. Excuse my manners if I make a scene. I ain't gonna wear the clothes that you like. I'm fine and dandy with a mirror inside. One look in the mirror and I'll take a peek. I don't give a hoot about what you think. Everyone likes to dance to a happy song with a catchy chorus and beat, so they can.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Pork and Bean Show, starring two of the world's foremost ascended disasters, Pork Cunningham and the world's handsomest man, Frank Bean. Sit back, relax, and stay a while, and access the far recesses of your imagination, as far as the universe that you can imagine beyond. And let us introduce you to the world of the Sasquatch people and their message of love, their message of hope, and their message of connection. Hey everybody, it's Pork Cunningham here. How are you doing today? My distinguished co-host is having a problem getting on here, Frank Beans. But we got the main guy, Carter. Hold on a minute, Buschardt.
Yep, that's it.
So you don't pronounce the T. You don't pronounce the T.
One or the other. You're not allowed to pronounce both.
Oh, How do you say it?
It's a German spelling of a French name, so go figure.
Ah, gotcha. Well, how are you doing today?
Stunningly, actually, woke up
Fill out bed.
not in the best of sorts, but suddenly the day evolved. So
sorry, quite often when somebody says a line of a song, I break into the song. Remember that "Woke Up, Fell Out of Bed," the Beatles song?
Yep.
Tried to comb across my head. Well, you haven't done that for a while, I guess, but
I haven't done it for a while. You need to, but
I really need to.
I wish I had that. I could, but it would be it would be the mullet.
I'd like to say I woke up. I'd like to say I woke up, but I very seldom sleep. So
yeah. Well, when I think I don't sleep, I probably am asleep, and I'm just laying there thinking I'm not asleep, but I'm dreaming that I'm not asleep. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
My wife says, "Oh, you were snoring like a log." I said, "No, when I was laying there waiting for you to get up because I didn't want to wake you." "Well, you were out." So I'm laying there going, "I wish I could go to sleep. I wish I could go to sleep. Quit thinking." And apparently I'm asleep when I'm thinking that.
Well, geniuses like ourselves, have a hard time turning our brains off.
I cannot do it unless I have a sleep aid of some type. I just can't. Yeah. My mind just won't stop. When you lay down, you go, finally I'm laying down. It's all nice and quiet, and I can just forget the day. Then I start thinking about the things I didn't deal with during the day, and then next thing I know, it's midnight, 1 o'clock. I'm still going, trying to go to sleep. I can't do it.
You know what? That sounds exactly like me. Because my wife says you were snoring, and yet I'm thinking I'm not sleeping at all.
Yeah, and I don't snore, according to me. But according to her, I do. And she's got a serious snoring problem because of her allergies, really. It's her allergies.
Oh.
You can hear the fluid expanding in her lungs. So I feel bad for her. We've got pollen here like you wouldn't believe. But yeah, I just lay there and I'm thinking, God, why can't I go to sleep? And the whole time, apparently, I'm asleep.
Well,
according to her. You were out.
Exactly.
Oh, everybody on the best behavior. Here comes the boss.
Hey, boss man.
I got technical difficulties.
Again?
Well, we see you.
I think it's eternal. You can't hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can hear you. You're good. By the way, Carter,
Carter, I'm so glad you made it to the pork and beans.
Me too. Been looking forward to it.
It's going to be a disaster. I tell you, I can tell by the internet already.
Have you been introduced to the world's handsomest man, my cohort, Frank Oliver Beans?
No.
Oh, there he is.
If you didn't know what the world's most handsome man looks like, now you know.
Yeah, I have a trophy on my mantle that says the same thing, so I better get rid of that immediately.
Oh, well, I think there's room for, you can be a regional champion.
Yeah, I could. I'll be the Missouri champion.
I mean, you're not a bad looking guy, but you pale in comparison to the world's handsomest man. I gotta be honest with you. Honesty's good, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Michael, where you live? Where are you at?
I'm in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay, well, we got it all split. I'm in Missouri. I'm in Liberty, Missouri, and we got British Columbia. So we got a nice triangle.
We're transcontinental.
Yeah, a triangle somewhere. Georgia, Missouri.
Trying to get my fancy dancy camera hooked up. I don't know what's going on with it.
Oh, that's what it is. It's that fancy dancy camera's been causing you grief.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm so embarrassed. Now, what am I doing here? Oh, I got to go back in here. Go to video settings.
What are you doing? You're good. You're good to go. It looks like.
Yeah, we see you and hear you.
We see you and hear you.
Yeah, well, that's what you'd think, but that's not what's going on.
Uh-oh. He's all frozen again.
He's pushing buttons. Don't do that. Stop.
I'm pushing a button. Oh, that's good. It got me to 0 again.
Do you want me to hang on a minute? I'm going to stop your video and then start it again.
No, I already did that. It's not that. something else.
You know, ever since you've had that fancy camera trying to show off to everybody, we've had nothing but problems. Maybe you better go back to the low res.
Or you go start yeah, I'll go back to the low res. I'm so embarrassed. FaceTime HD built-in camera, and there I am.
Is that your low res?
That's the low res,
Well,
the low reservation.
you're gonna have to do some technical
Okay.
technical stuff, I guess, before the next show. So anyway,
So we're live on Facebook. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hey, Facebook people, this is the Pork and Beans Show, and I'm late.
and I'm Frank Oliver Beans, and I'm here with my distinguished co-host. I'm not Frank Oliver Beans. You see, I didn't sleep. We were just talking about not sleeping. What is my name? I'm Pork Cunningham, right? You're Frank Oliver Beans.
You're Brian Cunningham.
Anyway, whoever we are, that's yet to be determined. We're here with our guest, Carter Buschardt, and I got the name right.
Yep.
Carter, show us your book. This is gonna be a long show, so we're gonna do a beginning, a middle, and end, and maybe
Okay,
two
well,
intermissions.
here's
there you go.
one. This is actually book 2. Of course, it's backwards, but
No, we just did.
I can read it on my side.
okay. Well, it's backwards on my end. So
Backwards on yours.
So this is book 2, which is the one I'm rewriting now, and that's book number 1.
SASQUATCH, Evidence of an Enigma.
Yep, that's book number 1. These are both color. The one I just signed that book deal with Beyond the Fray Publishing, so I've already redone the first one and it's out, and it's black and white. The photos aren't color; they're black and white. And then the second one I'm rewriting, it's the same thing. It's going to be black and white inside. Trying to keep the cost down, sell a few more books, and which I agree with. Keep the cost down for the masses. So I get it, but I'm rewriting the second one, and I have increased it by about 30%. I've added 5 chapters since the guy, my witness in Canada, has just been regurgitating stuff after we took a break for a few months because he just couldn't handle reliving some of the stuff. And so now I'm getting 5-6 emails a day, 2-3 pages at a pop.
He's purging his suppressed story. That must be exciting.
Well, it is, and it's it is definitely left of center. For those that don't have an open mind, I suggest staying away from the book. Like the play. Because
that's what we try. That's what we tell people about the Pork and Bean Show, but it didn't work. They still watch it.
Yeah. Well, it's just, and I went kind of on a rant here 4 or 5 days ago. I put this long thing on Facebook because what I was trying to tell people, I don't write strange for the sake of strangeness. I could care less about that, but that's just what people are telling me they're experiencing. So I wrote the first book, and it was kind of A to Z. If you didn't know much about Sasquatch and stick structures and knocks and clacking and counting and all that stuff, it kind of covered everything from A to Z. Then I got into some quantum and paranormal stuff, which is, my belief system. And when I wrote that book, people were coming out of the woodwork telling me, I've got to tell you this story. No one will talk to me. They laugh at me. They scoff at me. They ridicule me. Threaten me with my job, all this good stuff. And, and that is what happens when people talk about Bigfoot, period, much less having a mind-blowing experience that's off the charts and it's away from the pedestrian road crossing, or I turned around, there was a Sasquatch watching me fish, that kind of stuff. And those are all incredible stories. And then at the end, they would go, well, now I got something to really tell you. I'm going, bring it. And it was, some of the stuff was just incredible, and some of it is strange. If you don't have an open mind or haven't heard any of this stuff, you're just going to go, that can't, no way, but wait, it does happen. People are having incredible mind-altering, life-changing experiences with these beings that are quantum, paranormal, abstract concepts of powers or potential powers that they have, skill sets, what have you. As you know, so that's where the second book came from. And so this guy in Canada, David Allen, contacted me after hearing me on another podcast and said, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you. Nobody will talk to me without laughing." So and he is belching forth incredible stuff, and it's to the minutest detail. So if somebody thinks, well, he's making that up, or anybody's making things up, you know, it's the details and how they correct you if you get things wrong. And maybe sometimes I get them wrong on purpose to see if you're yanking my chain, because a hoaxer will just throw anything out there, and whatever you say, whatever, even if you get some of it wrong, yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, go ahead. Good. That's what happened. Yeah. So this guy's like correcting me, you know, and others are correcting me with, you know, minuscule points, which, among other things, being able just to read somebody, even though it's over the phone or over the internet, they're just sincerity, the affectation in their voices, the emotion that they're sharing, and all of that is like, they're not BSing me, and they don't want anything, you know, they don't want any popularity, they don't want any money, they don't want publicity, they don't want their name out there, where they live, anything, they don't want nothing. They just want to get it off their chest, hear an honest opinion, and I offer alternative examples of what might be happening, as I would with anything. Even if I come up with it, I'm going to say, well, here's an option, and here's an option. And they go, no, that wasn't it. No, that wasn't it. And you boil it down to, some of these people are having mind-blowing stuff. You know, I had a guy up in the Northeast, 6 hours of missing time with a Sasquatch event.
6 hours. Wow.
Yeah. Him and his 110-pound police-trained attack dog, German Shepherd, who was cowering and doing nothing when this creature was walking at him. That's a whole other story. But anyway, so what I'm saying is, you know, there's some of these people, and there are hoaxers, there's yankers out there, but they're easy to figure out once you start talking to them. They give themselves away in a variety of ways, you know that, you know. And so, but the second book, and I may do a whole book just on him, I don't know, but his stuff is going to be in this book. It's pretty much the last third of the book is all his stuff, and it's in your neck of the woods there, Brian. It's up in your neck of the woods. So, you know, and you're in an area. I'm in Missouri, and, you know, 250 miles south, Mark Twain National Forest, 1 million acres. I mean, it's got everything you want, but I have to drive 5 hours to get there. You know, you're what, 10 minutes from peace and tranquility and interacting with these creatures, you know. So
well, I don't want to make you jealous, but I'm in there like at least twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. So it's pretty close.
There's a Sasquatch right behind me here. Look at this Sasquatch right here.
I see that. Yeah. Hey, so why don't we take you way back and tell us how you got interested in the subject, and then how you were brought into it or whatever.
Okay. Well, my wife and I'll go back this far, 2008 or 9 or 10, I can't remember. We went up to Washington State, and I was interested in Sasquatch at the time, but had not thought about devoting a great deal of my time to the research, because I thought, well, they're headed in the right way and the answers seem to be imminent and all that. You know, I had seen and heard, you know, the Patterson Gimlin film, I watched the Leonard Nimoy In Search Of, and really that was, you know, a pivotal time for me, was to see that and go, well, there's that and there's that, and this all makes sense, you know. And I had a definite interest in paranormal, and had some events, and I had a definite interest in that. So that was of some interest. So my wife and I went up to Washington State, and we rented a cabin in the woods, and went hiking up in the mountains every day for about 4 days. And one day I was up there, and I went behind a tree to take a leak, and there was a box, an ammo box. Now I had stumbled upon, without knowing this, a geocache. You know, what's that game where you give somebody coordinates? It's called a geostash, I think.
Yeah.
And you give somebody coordinates and you have to go find whatever they left. There's usually a box or a cooler or something. And when you find this, you take something out, put something in, sign the log, and I was here, and then you go on. Well, I opened the thing. Finally, I thought I found somebody's drug stash, and it was booby traps. What I thought. There was wires, but there actually were the cables cabling it to the tree so no one would steal it. But I was sitting there taking a leak, and I see this box. I'm going. I start stepping away back. My wife's going, "What's wrong?" I said, "Well, I'm not sure. I think I might have stumbled upon somebody's drug stash or a booby trap or something because it looked booby trap." Anyway, I finally got it open and opened it, and I found a card from a BFRO investigator from Washington State. Don't remember his name. I thought, how cool. So I kept his card and I put something of ours in there. I don't remember what. And we went on our way, and I contacted the guy. I say, "How do I get involved in research with you guys?" And he said, "You need to go on an expedition. Before you go on an expedition, you have to be approved. And then you have to go on a couple of expeditions and prove that you would be investigative material." So long story short, I passed all that, and I've been doing stuff with BFRO for 12 or 13 years. I've had almost 100 reports published, 97 or 8, but I've spoken to probably 300 plus witnesses over the 10, 12 years I've been there. So I led 4 expeditions for BFRO. And here I am now. Well, in 2013 or 14, I was leading an expedition, and long story short, I watched a Sasquatch disappear right in front of me on my camera. It was thermal cameras, a nighttime thing. This creature just took 2 steps and poof, it just, the whole heat signature exploded. And what I was left with was literally, this sounds stupid, but it looked like somebody had blown a Sasquatch smoke ring. It was the outline just in just a little wisp of smoke, and then it just dissipated. It was gone. And so I was with, I'll say, some narrow-minded folks at the time, including some BFRO people. It was my expedition. I was leading it. So there was about 15, 20 people there, but several of the guys there were BFRO people, and they're not of the open mind ilk. I'll just say that. It's a dumb ape, and that's about it, quarter. And so but at that moment, I said, okay, this ain't a dumb ape in the woods. My camera was a nice FLIR. It did not malfunction. I wasn't high or stoned or drunk or anything. And I mentioned it to a couple of the other guys who I knew were open-minded, including my partner that I do a lot of stuff with here in Kansas City, Missouri, Brian Woods. And we went and reenacted it later that night after everybody else went to bed. We went back out there and reenacted the event. And it was about 75, 80 feet away, about 7.5 feet, 8 feet tall, best we could tell. And I was scouring the woods because there was another group of us that had gotten lost and they couldn't find us. So at some point I said, screw it, I'm going to save my batteries. I'm going to look, but I'm not going to keep recording. And I see this heat signature coming through the woods. I'm going, okay, finally, here they are. My God, here they are. So, Jesus, let's get going here. And it wasn't them. It was this creature just walked out, and I don't think it saw us or knew we were there. And that does happen. They're not always totally aware. I can guarantee you. And so, boom, it vanished. Now that area that I was in became one of my research areas where I go to constantly. I've been there 5 or 6 times. I've had 3 Class A reports from other individuals from that very area within a half mile of that area. And so that was 2013. 2014, 2017, my wife believes that I believe. You know, there's that glowing recommendation. Well, I believe he believes. In other words, well, I don't know. But she's seen enough stuff here on my desk that she goes, well, I can't argue with that. And I can't argue with that. Is that your phone or is that a dog? I'm just kidding. But anyway, so I say, I'm going to take you, I want to take you somewhere. And so this area that I had seen that one disappear on my camera became my research area, but there's another way to get to it. And that's where that's the way I always went to it, was through this locked, there's a gate and you can't get in there. And so I decided to take her just to, you know, and when you tell somebody, hey, I'm going to take you and show you something. Well, you know, when you tell them that, nothing's going to happen. You know, I'll show you. And of course, nothing happens. Well, it did happen. So we park my vehicle up at the top of this hill, and it goes down about 100 yards, very rocky, uneven, gnarly terrain. It's not safe. And that's why they put this gate so nobody could continue to drive down there. So I backed my car in, SUV at the time, and she and I start walking down there. Immediately, she's getting creeped out. And she's going, I don't like it here. What's going on? What am I feeling? What's going on? I said, just don't worry about it. I'm feeling it too. Don't worry about it. And it's probably infrasound, you know, it's just in that creepy hair on the back of your neck. And you know, you're in the presence of something or somebody. You just know when you're there. It's not a big deal. I'm used to it, you know. And so after you walk down, she's getting further and further freaked out. She's going, we're leaving. I got to go. I said, no. We're halfway down. You know, all we got to do is go down there at the bottom. And I'm shining my light down there at the bottom. There's my car. My car is up here. I said, what's our car doing down there? How'd my car get down there? She's going, your car's not down there. She's looking at the light, and I'm seeing my taillights of my SUV backed up to I'm seeing it. And I'm going, how did it get there? No, she says it's up there. And I shine the light and I said, it's not up there. Look, it's not up there. And she goes, it is. You're shining your light on. I said, no, it's not there. What's going on? And I knew what was going on, but I was a victim of my own cleverness, you know, because I was going to go show her and somebody else was showing me. So then I shine my light back down. I said, look, there it is. And there it was. I shine my light back up. And there it is. So my synopsis of the whole thing is that, and by this time she's totally freaked because her rock, me, is hallucinating and she wants to get out and she's not really sure where she is. And so my whole thing is that I think I was made to see something that wasn't there with infrasound. And she was standing right there. So there's two of us experiencing infrasound. We're both seeing different things, but from the same source. It was just, if I did need some validation from 2 years before, that was it. Because I was going, okay, it was the same location. And I'm looking at my vehicle, which there's no way because there's a metal gate that I was just seeing it. And so, that's what got me on the path up to this point. You know, I had no intentions or desires to write a book. It just kind of came out, you know, by accident as far as that goes. And so, and I'd had a paranormal experience when I was about 8, 9, 9, 10. And that's a whole nother topic, but, you know, I may have had an encounter of the, you know, UFO kind when I was a kid. And so that moment always stayed in my head. I was always questioning how come the map I got in the box of cereal only had 9 planets when we had 8, or 8 when we had 9, and where's all the stars that are in the sky? When I see the sky, there's stars, but there's no stars on this map. So I was just always questioning, you know, what the version of the world and the universe that we are taught and given by those that are supposed to educate us, you know.
Could you elaborate more on your childhood ET UFO experience?
Sure.
Because there's a connection. I got a list of 46 things that the Sasquatch people and the ET people have in common. 46.
Well, 46. My God, I've got one. You're way ahead of me. Well, I'll preface this by saying we all have stories we tell, like, you know, well, I was a kid, I said some stupid stuff. I should have been killed. I drove a car off a highway into a lake and I survived, or, you always have stories of the stupid stuff we did as a kid, and my remembrance, one of the stories I always told was that me and my buddy, Craig Whaley, who I think is passed, I can't find him anymore. I'd love to find out. But we were racing our brand new bikes in front of my neighborhood in Dallas, Texas. That's where I'm from, is Dallas. So we were racing our brand new bikes. It was on a summer day. I remember this. It was hot and everybody's at work. There's nobody home. And so we were racing and we blew through a stop sign. It's our own little neighborhood. It's a quiet neighborhood out at that time in the boonies. So we almost got hit, and this blue car just blew by and just barely misses. I remember feeling the breeze. I'm going, yeah, that was stupid. God, why did we do that? So I always had that story I told. I did not equate it to anything paranormal. Flash forward to about 10 or 12 years ago, my wife and myself, my former comedy partner's widow, he passed away, and her new husband, we decided to get together because we were still hanging out to go get regressed hypnotically to see if we had past lives. Everybody had an interest in, well, I wonder if I had a past life. And so we went to this place out here in the east of Independence, Missouri. And it's a place that she had a maze. And so you could go out there and meditate and relax and calm down. And she had a big barn that was converted into a studio. And she would take you in there and hypnotize you and go back and see if you had past lives, find out who your spirit animals were and all that kind of stuff. It was all very interesting to us. And that's what we went there for. I had no idea about the UFO thing at all. It was not in my mind, at the time. So they take my wife under. She couldn't go under. Some people just can't be taken under. She didn't go under. My widow's new husband, he went under, and he went back to the Phoenician days, Atlantis days, and a couple of other things, Africa, where he was a certain person or a priest. And then she went under, Nancy went under, and she was a fisherman on a lobster boat up in the Northeast, braving the North Atlantic waves. She was wearing a yellow slicker. She was very descriptive of the whole thing. And then she was a medicine woman also, a Native American medicine woman. And so she was administering to her tribe who was dying of some disease. And so she went through all that. So I'm the last. So he takes me and she takes me under, and I'm under. And I start crying and talking like a little 10-year-old boy. I was crying and babbling all this stuff. And that car that I remember was a blue car. Well, it was a blue Buick, a kind of a baby blue Buick. Those were the big color back then in the 40s and 50s. It was a blue Buick, and I remember. And so what it was a craft, a UFO. It took Craig and I on board. Now, I have 3 memories, things I described, and I always told these stories too, but I thought they were as a result of some of the other dumb stuff we did, fishing at Castleman's Pond in Dallas, Texas in the 60s, 50s, the 60s, early 60s. So one of them was Craig. I was fishing at this pond we used to fish, and I hooked him in the neck, and I was pulling. I was trying to. He was screaming and yelling. I was going, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And I was going, "Oh God!" I hooked him. I'd done that and cast, and I hooked his neck. That didn't happen. That was a screen memory. That was a memory of perhaps him undergoing. When I tell you who took me under, you'll understand that this is all like top of the line person. And so the second screen memory was there was a hearse, a buggy, a horse and buggy, a black hearse from like the Wild West days, 1800s, early 1800s. It was a black, beautiful black hearse with, the candelabras on the outside. It was horse drawn, and it was sitting on this dike that was sitting there on one side of the pond that kept the water in. It was just sitting there, and we'd never seen that before. I don't remember ever seeing that out here. That was another screen memory. That didn't happen. That was a screen memory to, and about screen memories, they give you things to think that happened when they replace your memory with something else. And the third memory was just hearing him screaming and yelling behind this curtain. I could see movement, and he was screaming and yelling, and I could see it, and I was trying to see through the veil, and I couldn't. Everybody hears that veil story, but that's a real thing. It was I couldn't see what was going on, but I knew it was him. And now the person, and so the woman took me out of it, and everybody was they're all sitting there. I remember their faces going, I'm getting the chills now just telling the story again, because it's like, I consider myself a fairly controlled person, and I had no control out of myself for any of that. It would just came out. And so she took me out, and even the lady, the hypnotist, was like, my goodness, well, here's your tapes. Thanks for coming out, because they recorded all the sessions. So we went home, went to sleep, and we're all going, where did that come from? And so I relayed the story like I just did you about, thinking it was a car when it was actually a UFO that took us. So went to bed, woke up the next morning, and I said, I got to draw. I had a dream about something. I got to draw. So I drew an alien, a reptilian, and I scanned it and emailed it to the lady who took us under. And I called her and said, hey, did you get my drawing? She said, yeah, this is something I'm not qualified to deal with. Basically, she asked me not to contact her again. It freaked her out. She just was like, I can't handle this. That's
like saying, I have this demon that wants to meet you.
Yeah. I said, I had, I had concept of aliens, the Greys, the Nordics. I had concepts of, I've seen all that. And I'd studied it because it's in my sphere of, interest, of course.
Did you say you have seen all them, or you've seen images of them?
Well, that's what I drew. I had a dream, and I just kind of was, I wouldn't say automatic drawing, but this is what I saw. And I started drawing scales on it. I was going, oh, wow, that must be what I saw. Because I just drew till I thought I was through drawing. I mean, I just drew it because it was in my head. And when I got up, that's the first thing I did was draw this and send it to her. So she was freaked out. So I went under 4 times, twice with Dolores Cannon. You know who she is?
Yeah, everybody knows who she is.
Yeah, well, she's passed. The lady I went under the first time at the maze when we were going for a past life, she was a student of Dolores Cannon. And Dolores was down in Arkansas, and I'm up in North Missouri. So I said, that's kind of far to drive. And I really wanted to contact her, but I thought it was just too far. So I found somebody else that was a little closer in Springfield. She too was a student of Dolores Cannon and had been taught all her hypnosis techniques from Dolores. So I went to her. Same thing. Oh my, well. And she just took me under, because it was just me this time. So I just, my wife went with me, but she took me under. It was the same story. I've got all the tapes in my closet here. So I said, well, screw this. They can't help me. I'm going to call Dolores. And she was really hard to book. So I booked, and I went twice, and the results were the same, and she basically told me that, because I said, I don't consciously remember this stuff. It's in my mind now because somebody told me through hypnosis, but I wasn't remembering being abducted by aliens. I was given a screen memory. The car blowing by me was the UFO, and they just give you something else. You know how they give you deer, something with big eyes, owls, deer. They give you whatever to mimic, get you close to where you can go, oh, that's probably what that was, and you just blow it off.
Well, I think that story you told about looking at your car at the bottom of the drawer and then looking at your car at the top of the hill, that was a screen memory. That was a live screen memory.
Yeah, I mean, they were they were jacking with me, because there was, I don't think it was 11 o'clock at night. I don't think there was anything I was going to see. I did have my thermal and everything.
Well, that's one of the things that would be the same with the Sasquatch people and the same with the ET people is they can induce these screen memories inside your head, and that's pretty hardcore manipulation.
Yeah, it's profound, and that's like my guy up in Canada. He's got some stuff like that. It's just makes my stuff look like puppy stuff. Anyway, flash backwards to 2 or 3 years after I get regressed. My wife and I decided to get into classic cars. So, we want to buy a car and restore it. And my grandparents always had Buicks, and they had a blue Buick, a 4-door blue Buick. It was in the garage in Houston. They were from Houston. I remember the car. So I said, I want to get a Buick. I bought a 1951 Buick from Chicago and had it shipped to our house. So here's my attraction to the same car. Was it because my grandparents had it, or was it because it was in this UFO event? I don't know. I can't answer that. But it was just like, it came full circle. It all kind of tied in slightly. There was just some connections. The fibers were there, not quite there, but it's like, man, that's just, I don't believe in coincidence, not at all. I don't believe if I ever say the word coincidence, slap me, because I really don't believe in coincidence. I may use the word because it fits a lot, but I don't believe, I think everything is connected. So that was my UFO thing. So when I was telling them a story about how I got into Sasquatchery, and unbeknownst to me at the age of 10 or 11, I had a UFO event that I had no idea. And I was 35 years later before I found out that event was not almost getting run over by a car because you're being a dumbass kid racing your bikes on a summer day and running a stop sign. I had no idea. And, and I'm sitting there, you listen to the tapes, it's kind of hard to listen to. I'm sitting there crying. Everybody else had gone under, and they're all, well, I used to be a fisherman. I used to be an Indian doctor, and I used to be, in the Phoenician and, area back in the Mesopotamia and Atlantis and all that stuff. And I what the heck, and that came out of nowhere. And you're under hypnosis.
Yeah, it didn't come out of nowhere. It came
but it was
supposed to come
out.
It
was a screen memory. So the story I've been telling my whole life was just a lie, not a lie, knowing lie, but it was just like my memory of what I was supposed to remember. So Dolores told me that you're not supposed to know or remember yet, but you will when it's time. She said that both times I went under with her. And she was, she found my spirit animal and she guided me through the whole process. And you could tell who the students and who the teacher was, and I love her to death. She's a really great lady, and I've got some of her books. I think her daughters run the operation now. They're in somewhere near Eureka Springs, Arkansas. But so that, and then all the other stuff, that's piling on me now from David in Canada and all these other people, you're just going, I'm supposed to be here, for whatever reason.
Well, you're on the wave of the future, because the connection between ETs and the Sasquatch people is coming on stronger and stronger. Mm-hmm. It's not just the Sasquatch, ETs, orbs, paranormal, all that stuff is coming to the front for us to sort it out. We have to work our way through this a little bit at a time, like mind speak.
Yeah, I believe
mind speak is pretty much the universal language. All ET races do mind speak.
Yeah.
So
that's how I got to where I'm at, like right this nanosecond. And it's been a very interesting journey because, I never, worked a real job. I went from high school to playing in rock and roll bands for about 20 years. I did comedy for about 3 or 4. Then I sold real estate for 25 years, and I'm still got my license. I'm just not doing as much. But so I've always had, esoteric interests in things of that nature, and ending up in real estate was just kind of a weird thing because everybody says, well, you know, you're so funny. You're really good with people. You ought to get into real estate. If you're
Just continue your comedic career
yeah, just be a smart ass and get really, really well paid for it.
and making
You know?
a little money at it.
Yeah. And honestly, at the time, we were at our peak. It was improv and sketch comedy. I didn't do stand up. It was me and two other guys. It was called Out on a Limb, you know, from the who wrote that book? Shirley.
Shirley Daniels.
No, Shirley
MacLaine.
Huh?
Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah, Out on a Limb. It was a book, and she's got a lot of past lives and stuff. We just picked that name because it sounded cool, and so. But my partner, one of my partners, he got a brain tumor and he passed away. At the time he got his tumor, we were supposed to go out and be seen by producers to audition for Whose Line Is It Anyway? And he passed away before we could go out on the club circuit at that time. So, and my other partner was three guys, and I wanted to add a female to the group. He didn't want to do it because, you know, we ought to have a female. It's a female point of view. We don't have to put on wigs and do, you know, talking squeaky voices. We'll get a real woman in there. He didn't want to do that, so we separated, and that was the end of our group. So then I got into real estate, and like that girl told me, well, you know, you're pretty funny, so maybe, you know, so I said, well, okay. So I got my license, and I've been doing it for 25, 26 years. But, you know, it's taken a considerable backseat to this, you know, and it's just, you guys are up there, or Brian is, you know, experiencing where he's in the deepest rainforest possible in North America, and those creatures and beings are there.
He's a lucky bastard. That's what he is.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick his ass if I ever meet him.
I'm jealous, green with envy.
I'm gonna have to beat him up. So, but you know, I'm absorbing and getting involved as best I can here, and I don't mind driving 300 miles. You know, it's 5 or 6 hour drive for me. I don't care. That's well worth it. You know, it's a lot of highway time, so I don't mind. So, but you know, I've been involved in it, and it's just things are coming at me, and I'm not even looking that hard because the people are coming to me with these things because nobody wants to talk to them. You know, I mean, how many times have you heard that? No, nobody will talk to me. The investigator snicker, and I could hear his eye roll over the phone, and you know, and
the other point is that when you're connected with the Sasquatch, they connect you with the people that you're supposed to connect with. So those people are coming to you not by coincidence, right?
Yeah, I believe that. I just think that's bizarre that you would say that, but I've thought that when I wrote the first book, 16 people reached out through my web page wanting to talk, and I'd say 9 of them got in the book. Most of the other ones that didn't get in simply because they didn't want to talk about it. They wanted to hear about it, but they didn't want to see it in print. They didn't want to put it in the book. They thought I'd reveal them or something, but of course I don't. Everybody in the book has an anonymous name, fictional location, where it happened, and who you are is immaterial. It's what happened, and does the public believe it or buy it? You know, and my theory on that is we are all taught from the time you exit the birth canal, you're taught how to think. The teachers are handed a textbook. Teach these people there's no UFOs, there's no ghost, this history happened this way, this is how it is. 10 generations at 25 years of generation, that's 250 years of disinformation, you know, and you can go back further than that. But so we're all taught how to think. So the minute you see or hear something that your mind has been taught doesn't exist, you go, well, it's got to be a deer, it's got to be a bear, it's got to be a dumbass in a ghillie suit, it's got to be something, but it's certainly not a Bigfoot because they don't exist. How come? Well, because my teacher told me so, you know. And so UFOs don't exist. Oh, wait. They do exist. They were lying to us. So what else are they lying to us? Well, about this. It's all a lie. You know, we're told how to think and how to perceive our world. Only if you have an open mind, or you have a questioning mind at least, are you going to go left or center and start trying to figure things out on your own. And so when you see a Sasquatch or a UFO or an orb or whatever you're seeing, your mind wants to say, okay, well, that doesn't be there. That must be a radio tower coming through the trees, or whatever you tell yourself it is. It doesn't exist.
Or it's demonic. I love to hear that. To me, the only people that say it's demonic are people who get demonic in their religion. When
Yeah.
the religion tells
Yeah.
you that anything that's not Christ is demonic.
Yeah.
Like, what? So
Well,
they're
yeah.
the ones who have the demons, not us.
Yeah.
If you're stuck in a box of beliefs and not willing to go outside of that, then yeah, that's
And
the
if you
explanation.
are,
It's demonic.
yeah, and if you are stuck in that narrow paradigm and you're happy, good for you. That's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to come into my world or other people's worlds and poop all over it because you don't believe it, that's a whole nother story, because that's not fair. Because I don't poop on you because you believe one way. I listen to it and respect it. I don't agree with a lot of it, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean I don't like you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. It just means we have a different philosophy on certain things. It's not a big deal. Let's go out to dinner and go see a crappy movie. I mean, let's hang out. We don't have to talk about that anymore. But the ones that make it hateful and directed at you and make it personal, that's a whole other thing. And that's what's wrong with our endeavor. The Sasquatch. I can tell you how messed up this Sasquatch research thing is. Just a cluster. It's a mess. So much hate and division. It's just,
Oh man.
It's just nasty. I dealt with some of that last week. It just idiots and closed-minded. And you want to be somebody so bad, you're willing to trash all over everybody else just because you can't figure out what you want to be. So I'm going to bring you down to my level. I'm going to trash you. It doesn't have to be that way, but it is.
Let me ask you something, Carter. The guys who are closed-minded and won't step outside of that box, you hear them speaking and whatever, 5 years, 10 years, like they're basically saying the same thing. Well, I found a track and measured, and blah, blah, blah. But the people who are actually got a real connection with them and are open-minded, these people are evolving constantly.
Mhm.
It's it's pretty evident who's got the real experiences going on, right?
Yeah. And so, some of them are the armchair investigators or researchers or whatever you want to call yourself. They don't go out. They just sit on the, I know better than that. You've probably got more experiences than most of the people that think they've been out there, but they don't go anywhere. They just sit on the Facebook or Instagram or whatever format you're on and just trash. Look at this picture I found. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this picture here with 19 circles in it. Oh, I see all the Sasquatches up in the tree and they're hanging from the chimney. No, I don't really. I see a bunch of red circles like you borrowed your wife's lipstick. That's what I see. And it's just, it's gotten to be a cartoon. It has. And so, I find myself wanting to just divorce myself from most social media because it's not worth it. I mean, it's really not. I'll put it in a book and let the masses see it. And, and I know I've already had one phone call or a reach out from Facebook message from somebody who has the second book.
Mm-hmm.
And so we haven't started a conversation process, but I need to talk to you. So I said, that's good. That's good to hear. I mean, that makes me feel good. That's worth writing, a book for 6 months, is to even have one person come out because that they're there. And it's like the people that saw UFOs in the 40s and 50s, and they were shunned and ridiculed. You're nuts. You're crazy. It's swamp gas. It's the light of the city.
Oh man, listen, those people were put in mental institutions. Their family broke up. They got fired. Some of them, I mean, this is horrible what happened to the history of that.
And you can shame, because when something affects you that deeply, the event
thrown out of churches in small towns, that's like really bad,
Yeah. So when you believe something that strongly in your deepest core of your existence, and someone tears into you like that, it affects you as much or more than the actual event, because that's something. Well, I can try to talk myself out of that. I can't talk myself out of you being an asshole and treating me badly and ridiculing me and my family. I can't talk myself out of that. That's real. And so you're devastated. So, and they've been lying for 80 years. Oh yeah, we knew it all along. We just couldn't say anything. And so now, the Tic Tac videos, I think it's going to be the same with Sasquatch eventually, is that, the DNA and technology is going to catch up to where they can't lie anymore. They're going to have to do something like throw us a bone, like that stupid Tic Tac video explanation, well, we don't know who made them. We know we didn't, but we can't really say they're under intelligent control, but we didn't do it. So we'll get back to you. But they do exist. Well, you just said a whole bunch of nothing. What did you just tell us? Well, nothing. But that's the whole point. We're the government. We can do that. We can tell you whatever we want. And we're going to tell you nothing. You're going to believe it. And that's what they do. And it's just ridiculous, And, David, my guy in Canada, they were 12 guys saw or were in the presence of Sasquatch. This didn't happen. You say this, you say a word to anybody, you're fired. There was hundreds of footprints in this area they went. My whole point is the Forestry Service said they went up there and looked where they said they saw all this stuff. Took them 2 days to figure it out, what to say. They basically said, you say anything, you're fired. Some of the guys ran off, never to be seen again. What guys did stay from that crew were all taken one by one and put on different crews, so you would have no one to talk to about it.
And let me ask you something. There's probably different reasons for it, but why do people get threatened to lose their jobs or whatever for bringing up that subject? In just different scenarios, like police officers or whatever, or the forest.
Financial, paper company. You got to shut down a forest. You got to shut down lumber, cultivation, and everything. If there's a protected species that needs to be, his habitat needs to be protected until they figure out what to do. Just like the ivory-billed woodpecker in California. They shut down an entire economy for a long time with everybody trying to get, the habitat protected. Well, you can't use these 40,000 acres here anymore because this is where they live. Well, that 40,000 acres, that's a lot of money to paper and lumber companies,
I understand that part. I understand completely. But what about like people who don't have any invested interest in having things shut down or their life changed, but they're still, like you talk about it, you're fired, like police officers or even people in regular jobs.
Well, pilots, airline pilots.
So taboo.
Yeah, cops, pilots. Well, because you're in a responsible position of having many people's lives. You're responsible for their lives. If you're a pilot in a plane, someone thinks you're seeing UFOs every time you take off. Well, ground him. He's off. Bob's off. Let's get Carl in there and let's go. And Carl don't say a word. I mean, and police and soldiers. You hear that. Well, it's not because they think you're crazy. I know it. They know that we're onto something, and they know it's bigger than a dumb ape in the woods. I think that's the overriding thing, and they have
one of my 46 things on a list is the Men in Black. Both of them have Men in Black. Both of them have agencies that cover up, that come and clean up UFO crashes and Bigfoot. They're different agencies, but it's the same idea.
Yeah.
I actually know a couple people that I know quite well, on Facebook at least. Well, one guy I've actually met a few times, and they've recently been threatened by Men in Black or people calling them or whatever to don't talk about that. So It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
My partner here, he lives in Independence. He is fairly certain that he had two guys. It was two guys in suits, Men in Black. I mean, the typical Men in Black suit, black slacks, and they weren't Mormons. We have a big Mormon community here, so they weren't the door knockers because they dressed differently. So I'm not trashing the Mormons, but there is a big Mormon church. They call it the Jesus slide because it's got this long, it looks like a conch shell on its side. And they call it the Jesus slide because that's where Jesus is going to come. So they do get door knockers, but these guys were not door knockers. And they just came to his door asking for another person who my partner had never heard of. Well, we were told he lived at this address. I don't know what you're talking about. And then they left. And they stood outside his house for about 15 minutes, just staring at his house. And then they left. He ran out the door, tried to find out where they were the car or whatever, and couldn't see him, couldn't find him anywhere. So I firmly believe that's, happening. And if that happens, I know I'm on the right track. bring it. You know, I'll take my no solicitor sign off my front door right now, so you can come ring my doorbell and intimidate me and threaten me. You know, but my whole thing is that the disinformation and the denial and shut up or you're fired, that means we're on to something. There's something there they don't want you to know about. It's not that they don't believe it and think you're crazy, because 12 guys told the boss. Even the boss saw it. He was freaked. And he ended up telling them, say a word of this, you're fired. There was nothing up there. I don't know what you guys did. You trampled the whole area. There's boot prints everywhere. There's no footprints. They probably saw 100 footprints, all sizes. I mean, they were all over the place. You know, it's an incredible story. But there is disinformation. There's just outright lying. And I think it's more because we're on to something they don't want us to know about. More than,
that's true.
oh, you're a crazy person. If you see that kind of stuff, we're going to get you behind a desk and you're not going to fly a plane anymore because you don't deserve to be up in the air. So anyway, you know.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's why I'm kind of like weaving in this thing about the ET connection and the ETs are kept secret for the same reason that the Bigfoot are kept secret. And I'll give you one example. The Sasquatch showed me one time about a military base. And Sasquatch are on almost every big land acreage military base in America, because there's no hunting there, you know, so they can hang out there and they don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to do that, their ancestors in the last 40 or 50 years, one of the elders of the Sasquatch clan would materialize inside the CO, the commander of the base, materialize in his room at night, lean over his bed and say, "No, shoot, we live here." You know, and so this guy's looking at this 10-foot tall Sasquatch in his bedroom, and he, you know, got his attention. And that only has to happen a few times before, you know, I mean, to be able to walk right through security, walk through the wall, materialize, and then dematerialize. And then the commander's going to say, no bullets in your guns, and don't shoot Sasquatch, and don't report it. Don't say anything about it. You know what I'm saying? And the same kind of things have been happening with the ETs and the U.S. government. Is, you know, those guys can go through walls and materialize and take people. They can take people on a craft for a little holiday and give them a little upgrades or something. So that's, and we had the ET people have an agreement that's going to end this month. It was a 50-year agreement to not be seen in public, like, you know, not to be seen in public. They can abduct people and carry on business in the dream time and at night, but not to be like seen walking around on the street. That was like the thing, because they want to do that. And the Sasquatch are on the same team, and their agreement is to not to be seen at, you know, in mass, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
that was the Eisenhower or Truman era when that was
Eisenhower,
struck, right?
yeah, it was. But actually, I just heard an update on it. There was, Eisenhower had one agreement that he wasn't able to sign, but there was another agreement in the Middle East that was for the whole world, to kind of like keep the Earth people said they wanted to keep the ET thing under wraps, and they're going to put out movies and gradually get everybody accumulated to you know, acclimated to the idea, which they have done pretty well. And if you look at the plot of what's going on with the ETs, and then you look at the plot of what's going on with the Sasquatch people are following the same game plan as the ET people are. You know,
on the big level,
disclosure. I'm sorry.
On the government level, I think, you know, like their big game is trying to make us think that we're all, you know, division is their whole thing, right? Fear and division. And, you know, the benevolent ETs and the Sasquatch are teaching us that we're all connected and all one. And there's a lot of power in that when we realize that. And that is something that, you know, certain factions or whatever do not want us to wake up to. So it's really, it's really as big as that too.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
believe there's a huge agenda, and we are only told what they want us to know, and that's it. And and that's in my books too. It's the social media, the forestry company, lumber company, government, all the media, they concoct stories. I mean, all you have to do is look at COVID. Look at all the theories and disinformation on that, and that's just been in a year. Imagine the disinformation program that's been going on for 40 or 50 or 60 with the UFOs and Sasquatch.
Long it's been longer than that. We had witch burnings, in early America in Boston.
Oh
right?
yeah.
But that was the end of 400 years of the Spanish Inquisition, where anything paranormal, anything having to do with herbs, anything having to do with nature or healing or anything like that, the church lumped that in with calling witches and demonics and all that stuff. And they would burn people in the middle of the street, really right in front of the church. They'd get the whole town together and they'd burn this lady, or they'd draw and quarter some poor guy. And that went on for like 400 years, 400 years of programming. And even now, if you say to somebody, if somebody says to you, in the Bible Belt, they say, do you believe in Jesus Christ? If you say no, a little shock goes through their body, because of that sort of like that terror of, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you're going to get burned at the stake. It's life or death for them on a subconscious level. That's why we get a lot of blowback for anything that looks paranormal or looks any kind of woo-woo. There's 400 years of propaganda against it, like dramatic propaganda. It wasn't just, it was Spain, Portugal, Italy, France, and Germany.
Yeah.
And then America. The whole world knew.
It's hard to control people that are waking up, They don't want that. It's really hard to control a person who's got an open mind and is not buying into what we're just talking about. Interestingly enough, you've seen my video on with Mary? Actually, she's in a couple. You saw that one, Carter?
Yeah. Which one?
Well, I did a video with Mary, my neighbor. Anyway, she's like incredibly gifted lady. And her lineage, she's got relatives who were actually burned as witches at the stake. I guess in Salem, I assume. So, anything that's going to take people away from the narrative, and the narrative has been going on for eons, is going to be attacked, shamed, destroyed, whatever, because the narrative is how we're controlled. So it's much easier to control a bunch of lemmings than somebody who's actually thinking outside of the box and learning that, hey, wait a minute, I'm a powerful person, I'm a powerful being.
Look at the ostracization that goes on with just, are you vaccinated or not? Look at that division and how you're ostracized if you're one side or the other. Then you go to the election, Trump, Republican, Democrat. That was nasty. I've never seen anything in my time.
And it's not over yet.
But you know what I mean? I mean, that is, to the point of storming the Capitol and threatening to kill people and actually killing a few people, and all peaceful people. And so when you talk about getting ostracized and all that, but that's, we kill or destroy things we don't like or understand.
You know what's so alarming about that? With that election and all of this stuff we just talked about is the people on the other side of the fence from where we are, whatever, opposite points of view, they don't even see that anything unbeknownst was going on. They just think it was all, they don't see any suspicious stuff, like it doesn't, I mean, what?
That was supposed to happen. That just,
what?
Okay. It's another day. I went to Walmart and saw this and that and came home, and that insurrection, all that other crap is just.
I mean, sure, you can be on one opinion or the other, but if you don't see that, weird stuff and like stuff is going on, then I can't even understand it.
No, I can't either. And, and I'm an old hippie. I mean, I grew up in the 60s and 70s. I mean, I am an old hippie.
I can tell.
I had hair down to my butt, like Mike's. He's got the hair I used to have. It went all the way down my back. Now it's just growing on my back.
Yeah, I just
But
cut it.
My point is that in all my wildest dreams, as I near the last quarter or less of my life on Earth, my physical life, this was the last thing I thought I would be seeing. I was thinking I was going to be seeing more like something, Brian would be talking about as just brethren and people is one trying to solve problems universally or intelligently, and all our 60s and 70s and flower power was finally going to blossom. Well, they got Monsanto came in and made pesticide and killed all that crap, so now we're back to fighting amongst each other, and it's just God, just when you think. So this is not what I expected when I'm going down the downhill slide of my life on this planet. I'm just going,
people can't be controlled when they're together.
Yeah.
Keep them apart, keep them fighting, keep them separated on everything, and they're just easy to control.
what happens if they take our internet away? We'll never speak again, except by phone. Isn't that terrible? We'll get you. It's bizarre. It is bizarre. You just go, we're advanced human beings. What are we doing all this stuff? The world and the universe and beyond was created for us to enjoy and learn and become better people, and we're going the other way.
You're exactly right. And if you keep on that track, you're gonna have more understanding than any other topic. It is not the ETs, it's not the Sasquatch, it is what is happening to human beings, our awakening, our perspective. How have we changed? How can we incorporate Sasquatch into our daily life? How can we incorporate the star nations, the star people into our daily lives? And who does that make us? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main key. Arla Collette said something about that. It's like, when you get touched by the Sasquatch or you get touched by the ETs and your life begins to improve, your life begins to change, your awareness opens up, you start questioning, your mind opens up, and you transform.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a type of a symptom of an awakening. It's an amazing thing that's actually going. I've been following the ET thing for many years. And the big result of ETs is people's spirituality goes up, their respect for nature goes up, their intuition goes up, their psychic abilities go up, their peace within themselves go up, their belief in God goes up. Mm-hmm. Okay, just from having and I'm seeing the same thing happening now with the Sasquatch people.
Isn't it crazy? It's awesome.
It's amazing.
But like maybe one of the reasons I can't sleep, and Brian too, is that I'm at war with the world in my head. I'm just going around. I wake up with going, oh God, what am I going to? I had to put out a fire this morning, and I'm going to have to continue putting it out once we get done with our program, because some people are doing some bad things to a client of mine. I'm going, I have to deal with that. But it's just a symbol of the world. If it wasn't them, it'd be somebody else or something else. There's turmoil all around, and it's just, I'm getting sensitive to that stuff, and I don't like it. It's bothersome.
Sensitivity, psychic abilities, intuition, all going up. They're going up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's weird. And, and since 2 years ago, let's say October 2019, I've had a lot of odd things happening around the house, as in, I wouldn't say poltergeist, I would say spiritual or paranormal type strangeness. And it's when I had another aha moment when I led a BFRO expedition in Illinois. And that was like, I know I'm on the right track. Not that I didn't know it, but it was like in my face and shove it up my nose, because I knew I was on the right track. And ever since that, there's been some things happening to me and my wife, both separately and together, here at the house. And so I know I'm on the right track. I think I'm getting little shoulder taps, is my guy in Canada, he calls it, psychic nudging.
I call it being a poked. And
Well-
Brian gets poked every time we go on the show.
I've already had it once a show. I just didn't mention it.
Well, when I was talking about my UFO thing, I was getting chills. I was getting, and whether it was reliving it because I was telling the story again, because every time I tell that story, when I get to a certain part, I get that chill, and
That's a
and I'm getting it right
confirmation.
now.
That's a
talking.
confirmation. That's a big yes.
Yeah, it's
Of
not
some,
because
of some kind.
yeah, I'm not spooking myself. It's because it's the remembrance and the authenticity of it. And and so we were talking about people not believing this mindset. Well, if you're just honest with yourself and try to connect, everybody has some weirdness in their lives at some point that you've dismissed for whatever reason. If you just think on it and dwell on it and try to come to another explanation of it instead of just dismissing it. Well, must have been a bad salmon I had that night, just got me wrong. I was up all night with a bad dream. No, if you just try to keep thinking about certain things that you've dismissed, you may come to, better not, but I think everybody has these things and you dismiss them for whatever reason. And I think after a while, the beings that want to contact you or tap you on the shoulder, they'll just go away to somebody else who's more open. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Why waste my time on this person? Not that they're not worth wasting time on, but they're not going to get it. They're not open. Like Brian said, they don't have a pure heart, they're an open mind. So I'll move on to somebody else and maybe we'll come back to them another time, And that's what I think was going on with the guy up in Canada too. He's been going through this for 30, 40 years. And
did you say 30 or 34 or 3 or 4 years?
30 or 40 years this stuff's been going on with him and his dad. I don't know if his mother ever got involved in any of this or was involved. And if so, she never said anything, but she hadn't come up. But he and his dad had gone on to a lot of adventures and had some things happening. So it's been going on for a while, And so there are people that are chosen, and, I hope I'm one of them. I think I have been. I put myself in the right places, and enough odd things have happened to me that are very left of center that kind of
you're talking on the Pork and Bean show. That's obvious. It's clear. It's like a big banner. You're the chosen one.
Yeah, that's it. I'm here. I made it. I'm on the top of the mountain, Mom.
Pork
right.
and beans in a can. Pork and beans.
You need to. Y'all need to make
We
some
love
can
pork
labels.
and beans.
You should make some can labels.
Hey,
and have like
handy,
little-
handy, handy. A sweet, sweet candy. See, you made it. You've arrived at the best
Where can I buy that single?
the best Sasquatch show on the planet.
Where can I buy that
And
single?
I'm getting the energy. They agree.
Yeah.
And that's not ego. That's I'm lit up. They
Mhm.
love us. They love us.
Are they
Because
part of
we're
the Nielsen?
open-minded, and we
Are
have
they
people
part of the
like-
Nielsen group? The Nielsen.
Sure, I'll form a group with you. Hey, by the way, what's the and I know, and you're the most unusual BFRO guy or former one that I've ever met, because you actually got a noggin. But you know what the best way to stop Sasquatch activity is? To get rid of it?
Join BFRO.
Invite the BFRO in to investigate.
Yeah.
And everything will stop immediately.
Yeah. Well, there is that, and so and I'm still with them. But I can't do reports anymore. I just can't, because they do not see eye to eye with anything outside of the ordinary. You know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, look. I mean,
they became
if-
gatekeepers. It was the same thing with the UFO crowd.
Uh-huh.
if you represent the Sasquatch, like I've been told through Mindspeak and in many ways, if you're not going to lay everything out there and you're cutting corners and you're saying, well, I don't want to talk about this because, whatever, you're not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So get a shit or get off the pot, basically, right?
Yeah. I quit doing reports, and I've got a lot of good friends there, and a lot of them, here's the oxymoron, believe the same way I do. A good handful,
mm-hmm.
and they just don't say anything.
Well, yeah, I would never subject, I mean, like you were saying, you were so frustrated. You would be submitting, when we talked on the phone, submitting reports to them and whatever, with your open mind and exactly how you saw it. And then you would go back and look, and like all the woo-woo stuff was left out, right? Because they don't want to hear that.
Yeah. It's
Well,
insulting.
why are you wasting your time? That's what.
Well, I'm not doing it. I'm not.
Not you. Why are they wasting their time?
Well, that I don't know. You know, they take all that out, and it's insulting to the people that are going through these events, because then they come back to me and go, "That's not what I told you." I said, "Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry." You know, and I have to apologize.
Yeah.
You know, and I started making copies of my reports before I sent them in, when I got wind of all this. And it wasn't that long ago I got wind of it. Honestly, I'm in the field. I'm out investigating and doing stuff. I'm not sitting here worrying about, you know, are they sanitizing reports? But so many people go, "Oh, they've been doing that for years." Yeah. Really? Why didn't you say something? I'm just not getting it. You know, I'm not looking for conspiracy in my own bed. I'm looking for things going on out in the field. That's what I'm looking for, you know.
And you know, I don't like to criticize them, but I mean, in any endeavor, the way you learn is with an open mind. If you don't have an open mind, how are you going to go from, you know, step ones that, you know, if you, and so it's just illogical. It doesn't make any sense.
I know it's counterproductive, and it's, you know, and when you do that, that's the world's largest database. When you do that, that database is corrupted, is polluted. So whatever people are reading is not the truth. But as far as, just like the education of us by the government and our teachers and professors, that what you're told must be the way it is, because these are teachers, they're my superiors, they're teaching me, so they know and I don't, so that's it. Well, you're looking at a database that's corrupted, so that's how you learn, and that's how you learn this happened here and this happened here. Well, but that's not really what happened, because we left out a couple of things.
You're the perfect guy to ask. So why in your opinion, because you've dealt with, and I'm not criticizing them, it's just how it is, but why, in your opinion, are they so closed-minded? I mean, what's the logic behind it? Why do they not, when they see something interesting, why do they not want to pursue it? Why do they close that door? I mean, what is it?
Well, here, I don't know exactly, other than I think they have a mainstream TV show they want to protect. They don't want all that woo stuff, you know. But here's the weird part. I left BFRO for about a year and a half, 2 years, a few years back, because I was a victim of politics and just crap, and somebody dumped all over me who I thought was a friend. And, you know, I was consulting on the Finding Bigfoot TV show for here in Missouri. I did one in Kansas and one in Missouri. And so I got stabbed in the back. I got pissed off. The people were just, you know, long story short, you know, I was chosen by Moneymaker to be the point person for the Kansas show. And so I coordinated with the investigators, and give me your best reports. We're going to contact the witnesses and see if they want to be contacted by Animal Planet, be maybe on a TV show. So the same thing was going on in Missouri, but I was in somebody else's territory and he didn't like it. And so it got messy. Anyway, I left. When I left, it was virtually forbidden to discuss any kind of paranormal stuff with BFRO. You know, they had a thing called the Blue Forum, where you could get online and discuss openly with anything. It was called a Blue Forum. It was off the grid as far as BFRO, so we could talk about stuff. So there's a lot of guys talking about it, but he said, we're not going to be talking about any of that kind of stuff ever again. So I left for a couple of years, and, you know, got my feelings hurt, and I'm all better. So I come back, and I missed a lot of my friends. I had some good friends there. So I came back, and I talked with Matt for a couple of hours one night. And I said, you know, but when I came back, everybody was talking about possibility of paranormal stuff with Sasquatch. It was open. Things had changed since I had gone. And so I said, you know, and they had these categories in BFRO: Class A, Class B, Class C. Class A is a full-on facial sighting. You see something there, I'm there, you're there, there's a Bigfoot. B is you hear something. You see a shadow, but it's not clear. C is word of mouth, secondhand story. You don't even see those. Then the other categories are insane, hallucinating, UFO, paranormal, obvious hoax, admitted hoax. There's all these other categories. So if it's not A or B, it goes into the pick one. Well, they were just dumping a lot of investigators. They weren't even reading or they weren't even talking to the people. They were reading the report and going, next. And they were just, because you can go in there and see the contact people. They have their name, email, and a phone number. And you do a follow-up. You have to enter that I talked to Mary and we decided that, she thought it was maybe a deer or she was mistaken, whatever. And so, but they weren't even talking to the people. They were just categorizing them and dumping them. UFO, paranormal, obvious hoax, insane, hallucinating. There was like 8,000 or 9,000 reports just in those categories. So he said, well, go through them and see how many reports. And so I took the 10 most populous states sightings-wise, reported sightings-wise. It was Missouri, obviously, Washington, California, Oregon, Ohio, Florida, Indiana, the big states. Missouri is one of them. I told him, I said, Matt, there's at least 8,000 reports in there that most of these guys haven't even talked to them. So how do you know what's going on? And so me and my partner counted up everything and broke it down to the state. I had this old chart about how many states, what, California, Washington State, Oregon, blah, blah, had all the number of UFO or all the other reports where they were pigeonholed. I said, it would take a couple of years to go through all these by the time you're working your day job or living your life. And then you do this on the side, like all of us do. I said, it would take forever. It's sad, but there's all this unused material there. But that's where all good stuff goes to die. It was there. And so I couldn't do it by myself, and there's no program put in place for me and others to join in and do it together. It just wasn't done. So, and then the show got popular, and it went back to, we're not going to discuss that. I don't remember being overtly said. It was just happened,
What did Moneymaker say? You talked to him for 2 hours about this, right?
Well, we talked about it, but after I did the homework and everything, the show was getting more and more popular at that time, and so it just was forbidden to be spoken of.
But why? What did he say about it? Why did he tell you why?
He didn't say. He would not respond to an email. Said, why can't we do this? Why can't we just put a disclaimer in there that says, hey, the opinion expressed by this research investigator and or the witnesses are not necessarily the opinions of BFRO. That's all you got to do. Put it in there with a caveat, and then let people decide, open mind or not. But it just won't happen. You're shaking your head, and so am I.
Carter, I'll give you some data. You're actually talking about data that has been denied or discounted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was a volunteer for the world's largest survey on extraterrestrial encounters. This was done by the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters.
Mm-hmm.
They did a worldwide survey, and it was done completely academic with a peer-reviewed paper and a book, okay? 600 questions, 3 phases, right? 600 questions. They know everything about what happens to you, what kind of people are on the craft, everything. Is it part of your history? That's how I could come up with 47 things that are Sasquatch, and because I have all these things in my head. Okay, I think it was on the second phase, the second segment of the survey, and it was question 27 or 26, and it was of all the people who have been on craft. A lot of them aren't awake, but the people who are awake and can see and look around the craft, they ask of those people, who was on the craft, right? And so there was a whole list of people that were on the craft, and it was like number one was um, light balls and light beings. In other words, beings that were in human form, but they were just emanating light. You couldn't see any details of them, or light balls that would just talk to you.
Yeah.
That was number one. Then the human being types, there's a whole bunch of human being types, and then it went to the little common gray looking types. So that was number three, and then 3 and 4, and then the mantids, and then there's a few others. But when it got down to, I think, number 6 or number 7, of the people who answered this question, 17% of the people said that they saw 14% of the people said there was large, hairy human types, meaning Sasquatch. And 14% of the people, 17% of the people said they saw the small, like 5 feet and under, hairy human type Sasquatch. So that puts it at 31% collectively saw Sasquatch as either part of the crew or just a passenger on the ship while the abductee or the contactee was there. That's a really high number, 31%. Okay. So you can tell, if you go back and tell the Bigfoot people that this is hard academic data, that's not going to go away. It's peer reviewed, done first class. I mean, it was basically all retired academics that had contact that did this whole survey. Okay, then if you go one step further and you talk to Barbara Lamb, who's a Bigfoot researcher and a UFO researcher, you talk to her, and she says that her contacts in South America, which this survey didn't really go into South America too much. She says her contacts in South America say that over 50% of the people who get taken on a ship, like abducted, taken, contacted, over 50% of them say it was a Sasquatch ship and a Sasquatch crew. And it's like, that just like blows this whole thing out of the water. That's what I'm saying, is this Sasquatch, just like we have people who are back to nature, living in the woods, humans, and we have people who are astronauts, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But when you start talking about the numbers, we had Preston Dennett on, and he's a big UFO researcher and written, I guess, maybe 15, 20 books. And he was saying that 2% of the people in the United States have been taken on craft. So you're talking about something like 6 million people. That's a lot of million people. The same numbers, if the same numbers are going on in South America, then that would have to mean, for that kind of volume of people, that the Sasquatch have fleets of UFOs. They're not just one. It's fleets of UFOs. So that, to me, that this is hard academic data. Nobody's fudging the numbers. Nobody's throwing anything out there. People say it, they report it, and then they crunch the numbers. So and this is why you get the men in black go intersect, because they're on the same team doing the same kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, even if you take that data and say plus or minus percent of people are mistaken or just making it up, you still got a bucket load of data. This is huge. You can't get rid of it. It's an elephant in the room. It's just, but
I've had a personal experience where I've had Sasquatch activity going on, and we saw a UFO and actually a spirit bird at the same time. So that talks, all connected in.
Yeah, the trifecta, and that's pretty common. If that where you have the paranormal, it happens like the same day or the day after or the day before, or orbs the same day, the day after, or the day before, something like that, and UFOs and Sasquatch, that whole thing is way more common. Nobody's taking data on it.
What did you say? The mantis was what, number 3 or 4 or 5 or something?
Mantis was number 4 or 5.
Yeah, Carter.
Number
where's a reptilian in there?
There's 6. They're not as common as you think.
Yeah.
Harder.
just-
And I was surprised that the human type is actually number 2, even though the ones who get the most press is the
Grays.
grays. They were
Yeah.
3 or 4.
Mhm.
Carter, let me tell you something really interesting. And this is really brief about the
As
mantis.
if none of this is interesting enough.
Oh,
Please.
no, well, we haven't done any interesting stuff yet. When are you going to step your game up, my friend?
Yeah. I'm gonna start crying. I'm gonna start crying again. I did my crying thing for you.
You're a good crier. You're a good crier. Anyway, one day, and this is very, very brief, and this blew my mind. I'm out on my back porch, just looking out towards my forest, or just looking towards the mountains and whatever. And all of a sudden, my reality is I'm in another place, and like I literally was in another place, and I could see my body and whatever, and I had these big long arms and whatever and stuff, and I had a knowing that I was a mantis. Like,
Wow.
yeah, like and those knowings are hard to explain to people, but you know what I mean. It's just a knowing, but yeah, like I was just here, and then all of a sudden I'm in another reality, and I'm a mantis, and I could feel my body parts moving and stuff, and so that just kind of interested me when Mr. Bean said about them being on the craft.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you slip into another dimension?
Yeah, something. I was just like I am here, and all of a sudden I was there, and I could see myself and stuff. Yeah.
Far between sundown's finish and midnight's broken tone, we ducked inside the doorway, thunder crashing as majestic bells of boats struck shadows in these sounds, seeming to be the chimes of freedom flashing. Flashing for the warriors whose strength is not to fight. Flashing for the refugees on the unarmed road of flight. And for each and every underdog, soldier in the night. And we gazed upon the chimes of freedom flashing. Even though a cloud's white curtain in a far-off corner flashed, and the hypnotic splattered mist was slowly lifting, electric lights still struck like arrows, fired but for the ones condemned to drift or else be kept from drifting. Tolling for the searching ones on their speechless seeking trail, for the lonesome-hearted lovers with too personal a tale, and for each unharmful gentle soul misplaced inside a jail. And we gazed upon the chimes of freedom flashing. Starry-eyed and laughing as I recall when we were caught, kept by no track of hours, for they hanged suspended. As we listened one last time, and we watched with one last look, spellbound and swallowed till the tolling ended. Tolling for the aching ones whose wounds cannot be nursed, for the countless confused, accused, misused, strung out ones and worse. And for every hung-up person
Well, science will admit to at least 10 or 11 dimensions, height, width, and depth is 1 or 3, and then time is number 4. And then it get into others. So I was doing some research when I was writing the book. And so theoretically, mathematically, quantum wise, it is entirely possible there are these other dimensions. So if you've got really smart guys, not like us, but like smart guys that got a bunch of letters by their names telling you this stuff.
Smart guy.
Yeah, see.
Smart guy.
But you got all these PhDs throwing this stuff out there. Okay. So you're willing to talk about that, like that does exist and we can prove it mathematically, but why can't a Sasquatch walk through a tree and disappear, or walk behind one and disappear, or just flash out in front of you? How come that's crazy and you're not?
A Sasquatch can appear just with a thought anywhere they want.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it's because it's energy. They just
Mhm.
put their thought energy towards wherever they want to direct it, and they're there.
Yeah,
Okay,
another
so-
pretty common one is seeing a ball of light that goes off into the woods, and then the ball of light disappears, and then a couple of seconds later they hear a Sasquatch running out of the woods.
Mhm.
That's real common, actually.
Yeah, I've heard a few of those, and I've heard a few reports. One from one of my habituation sites. They see craft going over their property kind of routinely, big ones,
Mhm.
football field, 300 footer, big silver, and this is at night.
Oh,
And I
big
sat
craft.
on their front porch, and what we do when we go over there is about 25 yards down their driveway and across the road, there's a heavy woods, and that's where they will go sit on their porch, and they'll wait for the Sasquatch to come, and they'll just sit and chatter with them, or hear them, or exchange whoops and knocks and claps and whatever, and I had one respond to me a couple of times. I did a whoop and it did 2 back. So they just sit there on their porch, do this all the time. Sometimes they forget to tell me. It's that routine for them. When these people see these beings once a month, once every 2 or 3 weeks, they've had them show their babies to them, that kind of stuff. It's just like, but sometimes a craft will just go flying by after they've had an interaction with the Squatch. Sometimes they'll be sitting there and nothing happens with any Squatch. They're just sitting there and they're just not in the neighborhood, not in the mood, whatever, then nothing happens. But they'll see a craft, they'll see an orb. I've had several reports where there's an orb and then suddenly a Sasquatch appears, or when a Sasquatch appears and then it disappears, then the orb appears, which is maybe the Sasquatch manifesting itself to go into another dimension or another portal or whatever. And if you go into the paranormal world, I'm talking about ghosts, an orb is a ball of energy. It's a spirit in an energy form trying to manifest itself so it can join you and interact with you on the plane, on the human plane, our 3rd dimensional plane. So why can't, that's kind of acceptable belief, but why is it like when you say an orb and Sasquatch, you're like, are you crazy? I mean, it's okay to believe one weird thing, but you can't believe the other, or you can't even, it just.
Well, look at Skinwalker Ranch. Well, what do you have there? You have strange phenomena, Sasquatch, orbs, and ET activity, and invisible stuff that nobody knows what's going on.
Mhm.
So, and that
I'm
was
reading that book for
documented
the third
by
time.
that was documented by some rich people over 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. No, I'm reading that book for the 3rd time, Hunt for Skinwalker. It's pretty good as a scientific crew, but they never really came up with any conclusions. They experienced some stuff, but according to them, it was not big enough for them to test their instruments and show things, other than some magnetic anomalies and stuff like that. But they described what they saw, but the machines that they had with them, the very high dollar machines, were not reacting in the way they thought they would. So they kind of.
And they didn't have 1 or 2 qualified psychics, even a good ghost hunter
Yeah,
psychic.
scientists or
The ghost
investigators.
ghost hunters go out there, they're running, they're packing up in their brother's, painter van that they used to do their ghost hunting, right? They got all their little gear, and they always got the neighborhood psychic lady, and they go out there and they check it out, talk to the ghost, get the little voice activated stuff, And then the psychic lady says who they are, what the guy's name is, when he died, and all that kind of stuff. That's what you need with both the Sasquatch and the Skinwalker Ranch kind of stuff. You need somebody who's a tuned in psychic who can just kind of tell you, oh yeah, this is what's going on. There's a base over here, and the Sasquatch are up there, and and American Indian Mound is over there. I mean, it's to me, it's like you got the two. Police use psychics, they get cold case files, they use psychics and they find who they're that's like the most common story there is.
Yeah. Well, Skinwalker Ranch, that's with the Utes and all the Native American tribes there. That was their land, and that's where the Skinwalker thing. But they rarely asked the natives. They had all their gear that wasn't responding properly. They saw things, they saw shadows, they saw orbs, they saw craft, gigantic, 7-8 foot tall at the shoulder wolves and things like that. But the machines didn't register. So it wasn't scientifically valid. We experienced it. Well, what the heck are you doing there? You got a bunch of money you want to burn? Okay, come over here to Missouri, go up to Canada and go somewhere where there's some action, But yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you don't have a lot of qualified people, and when you do see things, you just go, "Well, I don't know what that is. That must have been, swamp gas or something." I mean, you blow it off because you can't identify it, And it's like my guy had the 6 hours of missing time with his Sasquatch. I had never had one of those.
That's astounding.
Yeah, and so here's the story on it, real quick. Is how much time we got? What are we at?
We're in 1/3, a little over 1/3.
Okay.
Oh, 1/3. Hour and a half.
How long you go? A couple hours or 2.5?
Oh, some guys want us to go 24 hours a day. I mean, if you're up for it, we can do that.
Yeah. Let me get one of my.
You're the one who can say when we usually go 3 hours, but if you get tired or you want to do some.
Okay, I got it. Yeah. So this guy lived out in the middle of nowhere up in the Northeast, and he's a very successful businessman, has his own business, and he had a little 2-bedroom cabin out in the middle of the woods, got married, had a baby, and wife got pregnant. Well, they had to expand the house. It wasn't big enough, but it was the perfect setting. It probably sounds like Brian's house. It's just a beautiful setting overlooking the lake, heavy woods all around him. Beautiful. So he sends the wife off to live with her parents, a few miles away in another town, and he lives in a travel trailer on his land, a 32-foot travel trailer that he lives in, him and the dog. And so he works his business till about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, comes home, and then he subcontracts and runs the construction crews that are doing the enlargement of his house. So, and that's his life, until they get the house finished. So, and they had a couple of Sasquatch events before this. So there was a known quantity to them, was a known entity at the time. His wife had seen a giant man running around the outside of the house, running circles around outside the house. She called the cops. The motion lights wouldn't come on. And then when the cops got there, the motion lights came on. Of course, whoever it was disappeared. Well, it's a Sasquatch. She later said it. I saw it when the light came on just before the cops got there. So I saw it. And then he watched 2 Sasquatches watching him as he mowed his yard on his riding mower from a neighbor's property. So they were aware, but it wasn't in their everyday thinking, but they were aware and heard about him. So anyway, he's packing up his tools one night, and all of a sudden, in his large, very expensive German Shepherd attack dog, guard dog that'll rip anything to shreds, he's out putting tools away, and he sees something walking his direction, but it's a moonlit night, but it's dark, and there's some lights, ambient lights. Anyway, long story short, he sees this 8, 9, 10 foot tall Sasquatch walking right at him from about probably 30, 40 yards away. It's not running at him, it's just walking. It's just taking a leisurely walk. It's walking right at him. It's just lumbering along. You just walking right at him. The dog just sits down and just looking, doesn't growl or anything. It just kind of is looking, and he sees it, but nothing. And so he's going, we're out of here. Put the rest of the tools away and haul ass to the travel trailer. And this creature is still walking his direction, and he's the direction he ran to the travel trailer is the exact direction this creature was walking. So he slams the door behind him, gets in the travel trailer, and realizes he didn't bring his pistol. So he runs into the kitchen, finds a carving knife, about a foot long knife, and that's his weapon. And he can see the Sasquatch is walking around the house through the blinds. He can see that this giant creature, is backlit by the moon and stuff. So he can see that this creature is still there. And so he went and locked himself and the dog in the bathroom. And if you know how big a bathroom is in a 32-foot travel trailer, it ain't real big, So he's holding the knife like this at the door, and the dog is sitting right next to him. And he's just waiting for this creature to come busting in the house and coming after him. He just knows it, and all he's got this knife, and it's comical when you think you're holding a butcher knife, you're going to, take care of a squash. But anyway, that's about 11:30. He wakes up at 5:30 in the morning, same position.
Yeah.
He's like that. And the dog is next to him. Dogs don't fall asleep sitting up. They do not sleep sitting up. The dog was like in a trance. His eyes were open, but he was fixed on the door, and he knew the dog was out. So he gets up, and the next thing he knows, he's hearing the workers showing up at his house to start working.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife's there, cooking breakfast. The one thing she did would come every morning. When he asked her to, or she offered, he would say, yeah. She came and cooking breakfast. So she'd come over to the trailer and cook breakfast for him and a few of the guys. And that's how they connected for the day. And she'd go back home and continue her pregnancy. So anyway, when he woke up, he was totally refreshed, as though it had just happened. He wasn't tight and tense from sitting like this for 6 hours. It was just like he had just zoned out. And then he zoned right back. He was just like he went to sleep and came right back awake. His dog kind of just shook it off and stood up, and he was walking around like nothing had happened. And they just walked out, and there was the guys. He didn't say anything to his wife for several months. I can't remember how long. It was several months. He finally said something to her. And so I think it was after the baby was born, they were through with the work. But 6 hours, 11:30 to 5:30 in the morning. And I suggested to him, because this gets into the regression hypnosis, and it smacks of a UFO event is what it smacks of. The 6 hours, I can see 15 minutes you can lose with but this was 6 hours. So, and I don't think he really wants to know. He says, I'm a boring guy. I like boring. I designed my life to be boring, so I wouldn't have all these outside projects or interests. I just want to run my business, make my money, live my life with my family in the woods, and have a happy life. That's it. So I don't think he really wants to know what was going on. I'd be chewing my arm off trying to figure out what happened. We discussed, the fact that it smacks of what you hear in UFO abductions, this standard. I woke up in my car 2 hours later. I was 40 miles down the road, those kind of events and stuff like that. I woke up, I was back in my bed, and the last thing I remember, I was out walking the dog, or I was, feeding the chickens before I went to bed or whatever. Next thing I know, it's 4 hours later, 3 hours later, whatever, a couple hours. Betty and Barney Hill type stuff,
Yeah.
So I don't think he doesn't seem to want to know. I'll probably, email him here in a few more months. I usually, drop him a line every now and then to see how he's doing and stuff, what's going on. But that was like awesome. And he is not concerned with finding out right now.
People like you and I can figure that out, but that's probably the majority of people are like that. They just don't want to go there. They don't want to know anything about it. They don't want it. It's going to rock their world, and they don't want it changed, right?
Yeah. Well, and he's one of the ones that reached out from the first book. He was one of the 16 people that, I got. And I've still got all the people on my website. I've got their names and everything. I've already typed up a list. I already got them. And so, but he it just doesn't, I think he's heard too many horror stories, and like me, I found out by accident that I had an event. I don't consciously remember it. Now I'm remembering because I've been told by 4 different people, had taken under that, well, this is what's coming up. If I was
Yeah.
making this stuff up, I couldn't make it all up 4 times the same way. I mean, I just, that's not a comprehensible position to take. It's just stupid, so it happened.
By the way, they told you that you would know in time what happened. Do you know now? Have you figured it out?
Well, here's the weird part. I don't know if what I know now is the knowing, because when she brought it out, is that by bringing it out, is that me knowing, or is there still something else? That's the part I don't know. And I've tried to find Craig, and I believe he died about 7 years ago. And he and I did a lot of stuff together. We lived in the same neighborhood. We just connected. We did a lot of stuff together. So, and I wanted to see, and I even emailed who I thought was his surviving sister and a son, and neither of them got back to me. Either they were the wrong person or they don't want to talk about it. His cause of death was not listed. It was just an obituary I found of a Craig Whaley. Could be an entirely different guy. I have no idea.
You got to move up my way. We should hang out. We'd have a lot of fun.
Oh,
We'd
yeah.
have fun together.
I could not get my wife to move up there. Well, you have internet and shopping, so maybe.
Oh, we got internet. We got running water, and we got toilets, and
Yeah.
even in the igloo, even in our igloos.
I would love to be up there. I'd be with you and David and some other,
The Sasquatch have taught me a lot of lessons about time. Like, they started off with this cliff, like this, almost like this cliff, and then I can't get it. It's too complicated to get all into it. But time is not 3D linear like it is with us, with them, or with the Star Nations people. I mean, I've had a lot of incidents like you're talking about, where I've gone in someplace and it took 20 minutes, and then going back out, it's like 5 minutes, and like, what? And then and going uphill and looking like it's going downhill, and just they can have you perceive or anything that they basically want. It's just their abilities are so incredible. But I wanted to revisit one thing that you were saying when you told your initial story about the car. Your car was up the hill and you saw it down the hill. Did the lady? I didn't catch that. Did she see it in both places too?
No, it was my wife.
Oh, did your wife see it both places?
No, it was always in the same place.
Okay, you see, because they can. That's case in point, because you can have like 4 people together, and 2 of them get zapped in this great, amazing energy kind of thing or whatever, and there's a big noise or something involved with it or whatever. And it's just like, it sounds like almost like an avalanche. It's so loud, or just as an example. And yet the other 2 people are completely oblivious to it.
Yeah.
So,
she was oblivious, but she was awake, but she was freaked out because of I think the infrasound or the vibe or the energy that was being put out in that area, which I feel all the time, just like you get a little tingle, like when I've talked about my story, and you get a tingle when you speak of a certain thing. When I get to that area, I automatically feel it. And so I know,
right,
not that I'm in the right area, but they're in the area. I mean, they're there at that point. Sometimes I go, but I'd say 80% of the time I go, they're there. There's times not. But we were, like you said, both affected by what I believe to be the same source, but we had different reactions. And I don't know if they were.
And we were talking
in front of her as a joke, or they're yanking my chain. Because at the time I was saying this, I know it's not right, but I'm saying it because I'm seeing it. If I'm seeing it, I'm saying it. But how'd they get there? There's no way. There's a metal gate. I mean, but it's there. So they're jacking with me, and it's hilarious. I mean, it's hilarious when I think about it now. I'm just going, oh my God, that was, but we were both, and at that point, she's going, I got it. We're good. And we left. And, but she was creeped out, and not because of the spooky factor, because she's been camping with me before. She's an old Nebraska farm girl. She ain't, she'll pop a squash. She ain't afraid of outdoors or any of that. But this area got her, it got her. And so that's when I knew I was on the right track. I do realize I do have to go at 1:30, but we got 45 minutes or so. We're good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've got
I was gonna, one thing I find really hilarious is, like some of these guys saying, well, he was coming after me, he was going to kill me, and and like all this stuff. Well, you know what? If a Sasquatch wanted to kill you, you're dead.
Boom.
Why
You're dead.
why are they? Yeah. Why are they telling the story? I mean, it doesn't make if they're telling the story, the Sasquatch did not want to kill them.
Yeah.
Might not have wanted
That's
them around, or it might wanted to wake them up or to teach them something, or
Yeah.
or,
Well,
or
that's your
something,
talk.
but it did not want to kill them, because I guarantee you that these beings, if they wanted to, if I went up in the woods today and they wanted to kill me, I wouldn't be coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd be
So-
you'd be food. You'd be feeding the family for
So anytime
Yeah,
somebody says, well, they wanted, I just escaped with my life, and and blah blah blah. No, no,
Mhm.
you didn't.
Well, part of that's your taught response. You're taught that big snarling beast is going to kill you. There's boogeymen in the woods and they're going to kill you. So that's of course, a lot of that's just fairy tales you're told as a kid, but a lot of the stuff is also, lions, tigers, anything that's in the woods. If you don't know what it is, you better get the heck out of there. It's after you. So that's a taught human response, and it becomes part of the fabric of your existence because, well, there's something in the woods and I don't know what it is. It must be after me. You get scared. I mean, we're taught that. We're taught the fear. We're learned it or we're taught it. But you can counteract that if you just open your mind. Take your glasses off and go, well, wait, that's not the same thing. You can counteract that if you just use some logic. But and part of my thing is you're so busy living your life. If you're living in oblivion to the UFO and the Sasquatch and ghosts and paranormal and all that stuff that is real, good for you. You don't need the stimulation or the aggravation, or you don't have time for the inquisitiveness. It's not a concern to you. So that's fine, but there's others of us that are like, boy, this is it. There's more to this. Nah, come on, there's more to this than that. I mean, come on, there's too many questions unanswered. So, that's my whole thing in the book. And David, the guy up there, I've got a awesome story. He just sent me this last night. I'm about finished with it, but it's it's the crew that went out.
Before you tell that story, you only got like 45 minutes or so. How about hawking your books? I mean, I want people to buy your books. You're on the right track, man. You're going the right direction.
Well, here they are now.
I'll put them in the YouTube version too. But go ahead.
Okay.
I should see them.
My new book has a different cover, which I sent you. So this book is called Sasquatch Down the Rabbit Hole of Strangeness. And it's got this creature on the front, but it's a different background. And then this is the second book that I'm rewriting now. And this log right here has serious significance. And this has all the stuff with David ended up in Canada. And it's got some mind-blowing, absolutely quantum, abstract, esoteric, whatever you want to call it, paranormal stuff in it. You can go to Amazon and buy the new book. I have a website. It's relichominid.com. I'm still selling a few left of these. Part of my deal with the publishing company is I can get rid of what of these I do have, then I'm not going to compete with them anymore. So these are color. The ones that are out now with Beyond the Fray Publishing are black and white. That's the difference. The color is just too cost prohibitive for them. So those are the books. So you can go to Amazon and get the new book, which is this book with a different color. And then this one is going to be coming out. My deadline to get it to them is end of August. And so it'll probably come out a couple of weeks after that.
That first one was a real solid book. I could tell when you tapped on it. It had a nice.
Yeah, well, it's color, so it's nice glossy paper. I mean, it's good stuff. It's got photos, and I mean, it's in breakdowns, and like I said, it's kind of a primer if you want to look at it that way. It goes from A to Z, because if you don't know anything about Sasquatch to, wait till you read this, and then the green one is like takes off from there and goes even.
Can you tell us something about that handprint over your? It would be your left shoulder and my right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. What's that handprint all about?
Well, that is a 13-inch. It's 13 inches from here to here, to the middle of the finger. Let me see here.
I thought I saw it in the book too. Yeah.
Oh, it's in the book. Yes, in this other one. That was taken here, one of my research areas here.
Nice. And what is there a story behind that?
Yes. My partner, and we have an area we go to here. It's called Monkey Mountain. I wonder why, and it's got the usual story of a circus train crash and a monkey's escape. It's got that stupid story, but anyway, I've had 4 Class A sightings published to BFRO from this one place. He went out there one day by himself because he lives in Independence. It's not that far. It's in Grain Valley, Missouri, is where this place is. He was just out there killing time, go out there, just see if you see something, see if you hear something, whatever. And he was at this creek. He was going to an area where one of my reports was a Class A had a sighting, and he was going to this area, this junction of 2 creeks, to see if there was anything there. And he was just standing there, and he looked down, and there's this handprint. And so he cast it and brought it home. And at the time, I had a connection at a police department, which will remain unnamed. And the officer took the print. What I did was, I've got a DNA kit I carry at all times, casting kit and DNA kit. So I took the DNA kit, and there's dermal ridges on this thing. That is the key. Let me see here if I can show it to you. You see the dermals?
Yeah.
Clear as a bell, dermal ridges. So they're on there. On the palm, this finger here, I think, and one other partial. Nothing on the thumb because it was kind of squinched down. So dermal ridges. So I dusted it with print powder, and then I pressed it onto the fingerprint cards, like you get it. If you go to the police station and they fingerprint you, they have these cards that they put the prints on. And so let me try to find it again. But anyway, yeah. So I took the prints and put them on these little cards, which are, suspect John Doe, left hand, middle finger, thumb, index, blah, blah, blah. It goes down the list. So I put all these prints on these cards and I sent them to my guy, who's a cop, and he took them into the crime lab. And of course, when you take prints into a crime lab, you're on camera. There's like 1,000 cameras. So you have to enter the prints into the database to see if it matches up with a criminal, a wanted person. So they handed the cards to the person in the crime lab. A day or two goes by, gets a phone call. Well, one thing is, whoever this is, they're not in the database, which is good to know. So there's no Sasquatch that has robbed a 7-Eleven as far as we know. And so the second, well, that's good, because he's not in the crime database. Well, duh, but the second thing the guy says, I don't know who this is or what this is. Don't ever bring anything like this in here again. It creeped a couple of the ladies out. It's 13 inches, from here to the tip of the finger. And so that's validation. Cliff Berkman has a copy. He has gone through an analysis and he says it's a real print, for whatever that's worth. But that's where that print came from. And it's a research area. See the print just next to the handprint on my wall, the footprint? Yep. That came from an area 4 miles. That's a habituation property. That print came from a 22-acre property out in that area. Can't disclose it, but that print is 18 inches long. You can see where the mid-tarsal break is on there. They broke it. They called me, said, oh my God, we got a print over here at the lake. Come over here. We're casting it right now. So I get over there. Of course, they run out of plaster.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh crap, I wish you told me. But anyway, I carry Ultra Cal, so they couldn't cast the toes, but on the actually it's in here too. You can see where the toes should be. You can see the imprint, but they ran out of plaster. But they got the heel and the rest of it. 7 inches wide at the top, and but he didn't know what to do. He was just trying to get it because it's on his leg and it's really sandy, and it quickly absorbs water and it comes up from underneath and dissolves print. So he was trying to get what he could. I gave him credit for getting what he got, but that's in the same area. And so there's all kinds of stuff going there. And these creeks and waterways and woodways go for miles, in this part of Missouri and Kansas City Independence. So that's where that handprint came from. But that's a good one. Cliff has one in his shop up there in Washington, wherever he's at. And it's a good print. It's an excellent handprint. It's a little distorted. Somebody said, well, that's a beaver print. Yeah, well, no, it's not. Now their back feet are webbed and they're pretty big. The front feet are not that big and they're much smaller. So I mean, it's not really even in the same neighborhood. I was trying to be polite, but it's not in the same neighborhood. But anyway, that's where that came from.
600-pound beaver.
Yeah. There's a joke in there, but I won't go there either.
Yeah, we should actually do improv together because your mind is as pretty well as strange as mine.
I'm twisted. I'm
very twisted. I'm very twisted.
Well, we keep pulling you around. I want you to get back to that story of your man in Canada. Fabulous, fantastic.
This will probably be the finale, but anyway.
Well, hang on a minute. Hang on a second. If we're going to have the finale, isn't that one where he saw that one moving and all that stuff? Isn't that a better story? We really got to get that in there. Remember the one you told me?
I don't have all the one where it came through. I can tell you either.
The one where he could see it moving and it's like it was. You told me it on the phone. Where
let him go. Let him shoot.
I can tell you either. I can tell you. I don't have the complete data on the Zap and Berry store. That's the one you're talking about, the Zap and Berry. That's
no, the one where he saw the locomotion or whatever, where he saw how it was running.
Okay, that's the Hairy Spaniard.
Yes, we have to hear that. We have to hear that.
Okay, this picture right here was not going to be on the cover. I picked it at the last minute, and do you know Sibylla Irwin?
No.
She's an artist. She does a bunch. She's like a police sketch artist. If you had a crime and you want to describe it to her, she's going to draw a picture of the suspect. That's what this is. This guy right here. I picked it at the last minute because I didn't like the picture I had on my book. So I said, I called her up and said, you got anything new, anything I haven't seen on your website? Because I'm not real happy with the photo I'm using. And I don't even remember what it was. Oh, I think it was a picture of me. I didn't want that on there. So he came up with this drawing. I said, this guy just called me a few days ago and I just did this drawing. I looked at it and went, oh my God, that's it. Oh, I'm taking it. Okay. So this is the story. When David contacted me when this book came out, this being is the one he's been dealing with for 40 plus years.
Wow. No coincidence.
That's a dirty word. Don't say that. But you know what I mean? It was like, that is synchronicity at its finest.
Yes.
Because I picked that. He contacts me because he saw that picture and he heard me on another podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to talk to me. He figured, well, this guy will listen to me. And lo and behold, half of this second book, or maybe an entire third book, is going to be nothing but him.
Yeah.
He's got so much stuff. So there's a reason I picked that and somebody else knew it before I did. You know what I mean?
Of course. No. Yes, I understand that completely. It's like, yes.
Excuse me. Look, right over there. Pick that one. We'll tell you later.
Yeah.
Okay. You got poked.
I got poked. So anyway,
the Hairy Spaniard. You have to get into that.
The Hairy Spaniard Sasquatch. And let me say this, that this happened to him and his dad. And I think he was, God, I don't know, early 20s. I don't know the exact age. It was long ago. So him and his dad are just out cruising around, and they see a Sasquatch. And he's looking around and looks at them and looks around, and he jumped down and he disappears for a while. And so they're going and they're thinking, where did he go? He was just here. And he would pop up. And this happened a half a dozen times when they would think and wonder, or even wonder aloud, but too far for this creature to hear it. Where did he go? He would pop up. Every time they wanted to know where he was, he would pop up.
Coincidence.
He was not happy about it. David would say he was grumbling like, you son of a motherfucker. He could tell he was not happy, but he was doing it as though he was supposed to expose himself. He was obligated to show himself, whether it was because their theory is that he was chosen to watch over them and or educate them. So that's why this creature would pop up. But one of the times when it was running, when they saw it, it was running along, and you could see that as he was running along, he was no wasted motion. He was pulling up rocks. He was pulling up a bush or a tree, a small tree, logs, and he was
on all fours, right?
All fours. They saw this a couple times, all fours.
Yeah.
What you hear, they're actually faster on all fours than they are, but that's a whole other story. So he was erasing his tracks in his path through the forest as he was running by obscuring it with logs and trees and bushes and stuff. There was no prints, but it was erasing itself, and it was creating a huge noise and mess, a thunderous mess. You could hear trees being ripped and rocks being tossed around and rolled. And he was about 8.5 foot tall. And so this happened, and he erased his tracks perfectly. You could not see where he had been. You could see something had been there, as he calls it, a bear browse. I think that's a term they use up in Canada, or at least in his area, where bears are going through there and foraging and tearing up the terrain and stuff. So that was an example of them. And I had another story. I told him of another story in the book where I had a guy watch a Sasquatch walk away with him. He tore out a limb off a tree and was walking behind himself, sweeping as he was holding this 12-foot branch. He was erasing his trail as he was walking away. Never turned around and looked to see if my guy was after him, which he wasn't. But so that's, and the hairy Spaniard is because the name hairy Spaniard is because he had a swarthy Spanish look to him. He looked like a dashing, pirate or somebody, but it was a swarthy type, Spanish, Moroccan look, that's where he came up with, he said he looked like a tan Spaniard is what he said. So I came up with hairy Spaniard. That was the name. So, but this creature would pop up whenever at one point his dad ran, and his dad ran away from the car where they got out. They stopped the car. They saw this creature. His dad got out and was looking and said, "You stay in the car." His dad got freaked out and ran and left David sitting in the car. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, remember me? I'm your offspring. When he got out of the car and was trying to find his dad, he looked over and he could see his dad about 20 yards away. And his face was just, his head was shaking and vibrating backward, like he was getting a signal or a jolt or electronic charge. It was just, the word escapes me, but his head was just going back and forth like he was being electrocuted, so to speak.
Getting zapped.
Yeah, he's getting zapped. And so, and that's where the other story I was going to tell you where I'm going with that. But anyway, so that's that. But they deduced, and other things led them to believe that they were chosen, and a couple of the Sasquatches in their life were assigned to them to guide them and keep them safe and or educate them. because they ran into them multiple times. That was the theory. And, and just now, if you're going to hoax this, who even comes up with that stuff? Every time I thought to myself where to go, it would stand up and show itself. Who comes up with that? I mean, that's sheer genius if you're Spielberg, but if you're just a guy in the woods, you don't come up with that. I mean, that's not,
Yes.
And he corrected me on minute details, like I've said before. So that's the hairy Spaniard, but it was the locomotion and the intent. He says there's absolutely, and you probably know this, there's no wasted motion in anything they do, whether it's eating or going to the bathroom or switching dimensions. There's very little wasted emotion or action or physical activity. Everything is precise and measured the way they do it, the way they walk through our realm.
Excuse me. When we talked on the phone, you described the motion in way more detail.
Oh, the glide. Okay,
Yeah.
That's the part I was going to get to, and I haven't got the full. He owes me that. I still don't have that. But the glide, and I won't get to the other story because I'm going to finish up with the glide. When Zap and Barry, this is this guy, and Barry is the female that is usually along with Zap. They came through his wall one night, and then he left, and he got zapped and knocked out. But when the creature, he was trying to impart some knowledge to him, like everything I'm showing you, I'm paraphrasing, everything I'm showing you, this is nada man. This is nada man. Almost sounded Italian, but he was saying, this I'm showing you is not of man, or this is not man. This is something else. That's what he was trying to tell him. Those aren't the exact words. But when he would walk, he would start walking and his feet were going like a propeller, or like when you see a car and you're looking at the spokes, it looks like it almost looks like it's standing still, but it's actually moving. If you see a car, you hit it at just the right speed,
Roadrunner.
watching the wheels, and it looks like it's standing still, but it's going 60 miles an hour. Well, that's the same thing with the Zap, the Sasquatch's feet. His upper body was moving like that, but his feet were going brrr, but it was contradictory because the upper body was only moving that fast, but the feet were going so fast that it should have been going like 50 feet every time it took a step.
Yeah.
And one time it did go from point A to point B in like a second. And Zap goes, and David looks at him and going, wait, how'd you do that? He thought that. How'd you do that? And Zap's telepathy, oh, you like that, huh? In so many words. Here, let me show you. And so he backs up. He almost does a moonwalk. He reverses, and then he goes slower. And the feet are still, but not quite. It's more like a propeller. He's watching a propeller, and you can see it easier as a propeller than you could as the spokes on a bicycle, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was still, the body was not going near as fast as what it appeared the feet were going. And that's what he calls it, the glide.
Yeah.
And I don't have, that's what I'm waiting for before I send this book in to get done, is a finite description, but that's pretty much it. It was just like a phenomenal. He said, I couldn't wrap my eye around it. I'm looking at it and I'm going, you should be going 1,000 miles an hour and you're not. And what is the purpose of that?
When we talked on the phone, you said it like the Roadrunner.
Yeah, Roadrunner. The feet are going like this, but the body is like that.
Yeah.
Like the body is a fixed thing. You can watch it and follow it. It's not in a blur. The feet.
When you say glide, it just goes smooth, almost like a phantom, right?
Yeah.
That's what I saw when I had my sighting with RE, but I didn't see the feet. I only saw maybe from the waist up, but I'm wondering if he was doing that too, because he just went.
That's what he got. What do you call those little things you can stand on and take you all around? those little.
Yeah, that's how I described it when I saw it. It looked like he was on an escalator, or not an escalator, a flat one. What do you call that? Whatever it is.
I don't know.
Just no head bob, nothing. It was just like.
Yeah. So it was contradictory to physics.
Yes.
Is that he's watching this and he's like this, but this is. It's not making any sense. And either that's how they get around on our physical plane, but a lot of people see him walking and lumbering around, and so that's not it. So this had something to do with, bending light or doing whatever,
He was levitating.
could be. I mean,
We had this guy. What was this guy, William? Right, that last guy we did an interview on, and William went on. Part of his whole story was how he saw. How one of his buddies saw somebody, a paramedic in a war zone deal, actually levitated, and his feet were moving really fast, but he made like a zap across the field and saved this guy's life. And then the guy who was telling the story, when we were interviewing this guy, William, he did it himself in an emergency situation in real life where his feet didn't actually touch the ground. Mm-hmm. And then he moved at a terrific speed, and his friend called him Flash Gordon because he couldn't see his feet move. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I put these two things together. What the story you just told and the story, the last one we just told, there's a teaching in that. And when the Sasquatch said, "This is not man," in other words, man can't do this. This is an ability. This is to me, whenever they show these things, it is a teaching moment. And it's for us to break it down and say, well, what does that mean? And how does that apply to us? Who are these beings? What does this mean? What's the physics of it? So it's for us to break it down for sure.
Yeah. Can you hear the eye rolls right now? What are you kidding?
I don't care.
Oh yeah, no, I don't either. But I'm just saying, because we're taught that can't happen. Well, yes, it can, because this guy right here is doing it. I don't know how he's doing it, but it's happening. It is happening. And whether it's, but that happened, and it's like the Roadrunner propeller, car spinning, but it was moving. It was totally out of sync, and it was not bobbing or nothing. It was just like, just like Mike said, it was just.
Yeah, I mean, my wife saw a juvenile one time running behind a tree, and it was, and she saw like an energy image of it, like here it is moving, and its imagery is like in all behind it, kind of thing. So they're just
frames in a film or something.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, and see, this happened after Zap had stuck his arm through the house and put it on David's forehead and knocked him on the ground.
Oh, and that's a cool story.
Yeah, and this happened, and that's why, because I don't have all the details.
Put his finger on his forehead and then knocked him on the ground, and then what happened?
Well, he woke up, and it only happened, and Barry, the female, get up, stop it. He thought, he said, I'm gonna put this in the book, he thought he'd flatlined. He thought it was dead, and he could feel something manipulating his body inside.
Well, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah, and she said, get up, stop it. And he woke up. He had bit a hole through his lip, skinned his knee, and bruised one of his hands, but he went like straight down, and he saw himself laying down there, and he was thinking, what am I doing down there? I'm up here. I'm still up here. What's going on? This is all happening in a minute time, all of this.
It's another teaching.
And he hasn't come to me yet with any revelations other than assessments of individual. We both know that they're telling him something and have been accompanying him for quite a while.
Yes.
What We don't know.
I want to actually meet the guy. You know, I mean, I think
I would
we
love.
could share a lot of good stuff and some insights, and maybe both.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've talked about where he's at and where you're at and all that other kind of stuff. You know, he and the part that's making all this real difficult, he does not have a working computer. He is sending me these reams and reams, like 40 pages on a flip phone.
Yeah.
He's telling the story and typing them. And, you know, if you know how it translates when you send something from a flip phone with all these, you know, gaps and punctuation issues and stuff, because it kind of disintegrates when it gets sent. And when it gets back to me, it's like, no, it's all over the page. You know, you got to put it all back together and do all that. So he's not a communicative guy in like what we're doing now. No,
I'm retired. I'm willing to go up. I'm willing to go and drive up there and spend a few days with him. Even, you know, just.
Well, I'll put that to him. We're going to talk Monday. We talk every Monday. Because
you say he's having a little bit of hard time putting some of the lessons or whatever together, which is.
Well, I just think that he hasn't. I think that because I haven't asked him the question, but he hasn't offered. He has all these other insights.
Right.
And some of it, I think he's reluctant. Like he has told me some things. If I told you some of the stuff, well, you'd believe it. You guys would believe it. You understand it. But you know,
look, I had the Sasquatch help me make my leg go invisible one day. I mean, you know, you could roll your eyeballs at that, but I'm sitting there looking at one leg that's there and one leg that's gone. You know what I mean?
Can I do that? Somebody teach me that? I'm so jealous of that stuff. Envious.
That's what they did. And that's what I was going to say. I used to do a lot of meditation. I was a yogi, an actual yogi in my 20s and 30s. And, but then when I got into Sasquatch, an invisible Sasquatch comes into my house while I'm watching a video about Sasquatch. And he sticks his hand inside my heart. Right. Yeah. And then he took over my breathing. So I'm like a bellows, you know what I mean? And I knew like that it was an initiation into a meditation. And I got the message that's how they go invisible. They increase their vibrational frequency with this energy that's inside them to the point where they just go out of phase with this reality. You can't see them anymore.
Yeah. And they're standing right there.
And they're right there. And it's not that is something that humans can do if you know. Now, granted, it might take you 10 years to do it, and they would have to help you do it, right? But it could still be done.
The Sasquatch has said we have no abilities that you don't have, and that's why a lot of the people who have great connections with them are opening up to all these gifts or whatever. Like I'm constantly involving myself or whatever, like and stuff. And you see it with all these different people who are connected to them. I mean, we have the same abilities, but we just don't remember it or know how to bring it forward.
I think we invented it out of our system. We progressed. We have computers. We have I was thinking this the other day. We have a garage door opener that opens our garage. We have computers that do everything.
We knick-knacked it. We knick-knacked it right out.
You know, how did we build the pyramids and the you know, Machu Picchu? Not with 20,000 Nubian slaves rolling 14-ton rocks over wooden posts. That ain't how we built it. It's levitation or some form of, you know, how do we cut the stuff? They can't duplicate the way the stones were cut at Machu Picchu. All kinds of things. We've just progressed. We got things that does everything for us. Everything. We don't have to do a damn thing. So why do we need to have psychic abilities? Because I got a TV. I turn on TV. I'm in another world. I'm in another world. Change channel. I'm in another world.
Well, I think a lot of it is that we reside in our head now. Whatever you know, we have to get back into the heart. That's where the energy and the magic.
That's why the Sasquatch stuck his hand in my heart. It's like, okay, if your heart can glow, if you can build up the energy in your heart, what they showed me, what they told me was, then they can see you. The angels can see you. God can see you. The Sasquatch can see you. The dogman can see you. They can see you. Then they recognize you as, you know, an awakened or an energetic equal to them.
Yeah, enlightened.
It's far from enlightened, but it is just on the right, it's on a heart frequency, put it that way. You're on a
Like
heart
that.
frequency, and they
Yeah.
can trust that.
Mhm.
If you don't have a heart frequency, they can't trust you.
Yeah.
I bet you a lot of the grumbling and barking and growling you get is because these people walk into their space and they have no heart frequency. And they're
Mhm.
just normal people bopping around, looking, they're enjoying their day, but they're no heart frequency.
Yeah.
And the Sasquatch barks at them or growls or something.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a practical explanation of that. Some of the greeting growls or whatever, they're actually a greeting, but they sound aggressive when they're not really intended to be in some cases.
Yeah. Well, here's the way that Zap talks to him or speaks to him, mentally, telepathically, or mind speak wise, is a deep, and it sounds, but it's got a little bit of an accent. It sounds like a human, or maybe it's him trying to sound like our vocal process.
Mhm.
It's, you've heard the Ron Moorhead tapes. I mean, it's in that vein. It's
Right.
that kind of stuff, and I've used the Chinese gibberish once, and I'll use it again. It got a lot of reaction. So, they do speak to us verbally when they have to, I think, or we pick up. It sounds like it's verbal. We may be hearing it in here, but it may actually be coming from somewhere or it could be a verbal. I've heard them, whooping back and forth to me and calling, and I've got a lady who has a Squatch call her by her name that her husband, his little cutesy nickname for her that they just talk around the house. She has a Sasquatch call her by name every now and then when she goes out and works in the garden. Claire's a bell. It's her name. Or it's her nickname, like Honey or Sweetie Pie, that kind of thing. It's a nickname that he calls her, and nobody else knows the name. That's why I'm not going to say it, because I said I'd never say it in public, because it's one of those, mushy, cutesy things, But anyway,
The first time I had mind speak, I started arguing with them, because they wanted me to go someplace that I didn't want to go to. And they were quite persistent. And eventually they gave up or whatever, or at least said, okay, whatever. But then the area that I went to, that I initially wanted to go to, they cloaked it. They cloaked it on me, and it was a big area, bigger than my room. They completely cloaked it. So that'll teach you for not listening.
yeah. Now, what are you going to do about that? Human, call your congressman, Yeah, so it's kind of funny. But so the whole gist of this show and what should be people thinking is there is an undercurrent of all of this enlightenment or education going on. Some people are snapping to it, some aren't. Some are fighting it, some are embracing it but not understanding it. It's kind of going across all the fields. But like you guys have said, there's something going on. It's bigger than all of us. And if and these people coming out of the woodwork, I hope if this fourth book comes out, or third, or whatever it is, second rewrite, that more are already. But I already got one person who wants to talk, and so when I just have the time, I'll sit down and chat and find out what they got going on. But these people are, and they're just embarrassed and ridiculed into silence, and they just won't talk, or they'll tell you part of the story but not all of it. And that's been kind of what David's done. I think he's waiting for me to go, I knew it, you were making that up. But I'm not that guy. I think he's waiting, because he's told me some things, and then he said, well, I didn't want to tell you that part, and he's proceeding with trepidation. I get it. I would too. He's never met me, and so we don't know each other, and I could be, I could turn on him, but I'm not that guy, but it's like these other folks, they're slow to tell you what they really want to tell you, because they've been mocked before by spouses, circle of friends, employers, whatever. And so they clam up.
Everybody in my family, except for my wife, thinks I'm in a cult. And as soon as I bring up, and I haven't brought it up in years, but as soon as I bring up Sasquatch, it's like, they don't even respond to, they don't even answer me or even look my way as if I even said anything. And I'm a cult member. There's a big division among those who are open and aren't open.
Sign me up. I'll join.
I'll tell you another issue that is very real in the Sasquatch community, and that is there's the people who live alongside Sasquatch and have for many years. They don't have anything to gain by going public.
Yeah.
So they don't say anything. There's people who've had past life memories and visions and understandings and miraculous things happening, healings and all this kind of stuff. And it's just part of their everyday life. They don't, they go into their private groups, and you don't hear the stories that unless you're in those private friends of Sasquatch or Sasquatch's family, unless you're part of that crowd, you have no idea what's really going on when people have a heart connection with Sasquatch. It's a whole different story.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the low rung of the ladder, but I got to go.
Au contraire, you're right there.
Oh, I'm there. I think I've just started my initiation in the last 2 years. It's been remarkable. Actually, it'll be 2 years in October, and I plan on going back to the same place that I went on the year anniversary of the expedition in Illinois. And that's a whole nother subject. But I went back a year to the day of the expedition. I went back in October 2020. I plan on going back this year to the day of the time I went. And the picture on this book is the Sasquatch memorializing my visit. I only had 4 people on my expedition, and my other Sasquatch partner in Illinois, he made number 6. So there's me, the leader with the arrow, 4 rocks behind me. That's my 4 expedition goers. And at the other end is Harold.
Oh, they left the rocks there?
Yeah, they left them for me to find.
They signified each one of you guys. Yeah, that still rings a bell.
That was a year to the date of when I led my expedition. Now, Harold had some physical infirmities. He's had a stroke, he's had cancer, he's had a heart attack. So he couldn't make the hike down this ravine we went. And so he stayed back in the parking lot while we went down. So he was there, but not there. The second night we went out, he stayed back at camp. He was there, but not there. So they signified him by putting him at the other end of the log.
Right. Yes.
I left a camera, and this is the year that I went a year ago, October. I left a couple of cameras there. Me and Harold went down there, and just to see in the daylight the place that we went at night. We'd never been there. I scouted it myself during the day, but only to a certain distance. And then I took everybody out that night. We went back there this last year to check the place out, just to see if it still had the same magic and ambiance that it did when we were there. And several of the trees that were blocking our path had been cut up. And I know they were cut up by the hunters so they can get their kill out. I understand how they did that. But anyway, so I decided I'm going to leave a camera here just to see if the activity that I thought I saw, it might be here. I know if you leave a camera, you're not going to get anything, but I have gotten some good photos on cameras. And it's more for my personal use than anything else. Anyway, so I left the camera. I went back the next morning at 8 o'clock on my way back to Kansas City. I went back to get my camera, and that log, which is where I put my camera, had nothing on it. And there it was. They were communicating, and I'm getting that chilly feeling again. They were saying, we know you were there. We remember you. You were there with your friend. We remember you. We're going to memorialize it. We remember you. Yeah. Synchronicity, the number. What's the odds of 5 rocks in 1? The arrow being an expedition leader and 4 behind it. Anybody can say, well, you put that there. Maybe, some tree huggers or people walking in the forest. Well, that's impossible. That's possible. But it's a possible. Just for physical sake, it's possible that somebody will do a hike.
It's the possibility of you putting 2 and 2 together. That's the miracle.
Well, yeah. And I didn't. I looked at it and I said a whole bunch of words I'm not going to say here. It was like, oh, God. But then I talked myself out of it on the way home. I started trying to think of, because what I do as an investigator, I'll find all the other reasons that might have happened. And if I can toss them out, then I got something. But I have to be true to myself. And be honest and put all the possibilities out there, and they all kind of fell aside. You know, Occam's razor: the least amount of explanation is the most likely explanation.
They can be so literal with these. I mean, and what you said with that rock thing and whatever, how they had him separated from you. I mean, they can draw exactly what they see you doing with cliffs, with rocks, and whatever. I'm getting that energy. I'm getting that.
I'm getting it right now, and so I know that I'm right.
Yeah, when we talk further, I can tell you so many instances where they've literally drawn exactly what they saw me doing and whatever, or like with the rocks, the same kind of thing. So I can tell anybody who's listening, and boy, am I getting that energy, that what you thought happened, absolutely 100% happened, because I've experienced it so many times, and I know it for what it is. It's it's amazing.
Yeah, and I have some skeptical researchers that went, I can't argue. They're like speechless. Harold, my partner there, he was going, oh my God. And here's the deal. This was right in the middle of COVID, October of last year. This was COVID time. So when we left this area, it's about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, October. It gets dark by 5:30. So if humans did come out, taking a hike, want to stack some rocks and pay homage to nature, which people do, they had 3 hours of daylight.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's COVID. People are locked down. They're not doing anything. There was nobody anywhere, and so they had from 2 o'clock that afternoon till 8:30 or 8 o'clock the next morning to do that. And
we all know what we all know. So by the way, I hope you were keeping 6 feet apart while you were investigating.
We weren't. Well, this is an example of social distancing, by the way. Sasquatch obeyed the social distancing. This is like 6, 7, 8.
I look at that and I see exactly what happens with me, like over and over and over again. So I mean, it's authentic stuff. Boy, I'm just like,
people say, well, you're making that scenario fit your agenda. No, it's just what it is.
Listen, I'll have to share a story with you one time. Okay. And I can't get into it because I know you have to go, but they will literally draw what they see you doing. One time, my girlfriend and I, or at the time, were camping, and we were in a tent. And the Sasquatch the next morning put a glyph right in front of our tent that had the tent with us inside the tent, even had the tent pegs and him outside the tent. They drew exactly what happened. I mean, and I'll show you the picture when I'll send you the picture sometime. But I mean, it's stuff that defies any kind of logical explanation other than what we know.
Yeah. No, it just blew my mind. This has been an awesome show, guys. Can we do this again?
Because I was going to say it feels like we haven't even scratched the surface. And the reason I want to do it again is because I can't really put that in this episode. But the next time I want to do the Welcome Back Carter theme song. Welcome back.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back.
Kaplan. He's actually quite a gambler. Yeah.
Whatever, you know the song. But I mean, if we don't do it, I can't put that in there, right? Otherwise, I'd be a fraud if I put.
We'll do it. And by then, the second book with all these extra stories from David will be in there, and I'll have all my data. I'm just this close.
I wanted to make a point.
Yep.
And my point is, Carter, are you in the woods now?
I live on 1 acre.
In this room, you're in this room right now. You're not in the woods, right?
No.
And you were having a feeling.
Yeah.
And Brian's not in the woods, and he's having a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That's a teaching. And if you can understand that teaching, you'll really understand the core of what Sasquatch is all about. Mm-hmm. Time and space don't make anything. No, there's no difference to them. If they feel you, they can see you and feel you. You know what I mean? They're there. Oh, yeah. Now, here in the woods, in the car, wherever you are, they're connected. That's what they mean by the all one and no space.
Yeah.
And that's one of their main
I believe that. We talked about it. I see things
at night. It's so simple that we don't see it. It happens all the time. Oh, I'm getting this feeling, or oh, I got a chill, or oh, I feel like I got a poke, or it just happens. And we go on with the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're there.
Yeah.
That was them. You know what I mean? Invisible, although they may be.
Well, these energy things, though, I mean, and I know that you probably feel the same way, Carter. I mean, they're not like people got to understand, it's not a feeling. It's dramatic. Like your whole body is tingling with energy sometimes. It's like, this, you know, it's not like, geez, did I imagine that? No, it's way beyond, way beyond that. And it's at the precise time when, with me, quite often is when I hit a point that they really want me to talk about, or here I go again, or they approve of. That's when it comes in, right? When, yes, you're on the right track. Yes, you're saying what we want you to say, or.
And your books, people are going to be sitting there reading your books. They're going to come to an interesting passage, and then they're going to get a feeling. They're going to get, oh, wow, that, or, you know what I mean? Or they're going to feel like that must be true, or that's close to what I had. They're going to get this whole feeling, which is also a gift, which is also a teaching.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
You know, because the way I look at it, everybody who's on YouTube and on Facebook now that's involved with the Sasquatch, they have that feeling of, this is real, this is important, this is true, this is something I want to investigate, this is something I want to spend time with. Understand that very simple stuff, and you really go a long way about what's going on with the Sasquatch people.
Yeah. I'm ready. This is the path I was supposed to be on, and so it came late in life. But what the heck? Here I go.
Carter, we have to have you back.
Okay.
Just so I can put that song in, if for no
Okay.
but also you know,
welcome back.
I can't.
Do I have to pay you money like I paid to get on this one, or is that a freebie?
No, it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same price. It's going to be the same price. You can send the check in the mail, or money transfer. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, Brian said send me a check. Just don't tell Mike.
I just wanted to say a couple things before, because I know you have to go.
I sent him a check too. I have a co-host fee.
That's right. You'll get the next check.
Couple things before you have to go, because I can pick up on your energy. I gotta get out of here. Yeah. Oh no, I'm late.
I've got a fire to put out. So
yeah, but get a hold of your friend David and see if he's open, because like I've got no agenda. I just think that we could. I think that we could help each other. You know.
I can't imagine some things. I can't imagine.
And like I said, I'd be willing to go up there, and even, you know, because I'm retired, I got all the time in the world.
Well, so is he.
Yeah. And
you could meet halfway.
Yeah.
If you want to be on the Pork and Bean Show, you can get in touch with Brian at small letters pork and beans show at gmail.com.
Right.
So,
yeah. And if you want to check out my videos, and I got a YouTube channel, it's the Pork and Bean Show plus Sasquatch BC, the true story.
It's good stuff too, guys, ladies and gentlemen. It's good stuff.
Well, thank you very much.
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna get a volume and a jelly roll.
You know, the only resemblance between you and any other normal human being is merely coincidental.
This has been a blast. So the rest of the day is going to be like so undynamic.
Yeah, you're gonna be on a big bummer.
Yeah. No, I'll be in good shape, because I gotta go call this lady, and I'm gonna help her out, and she's gonna have a good day after our conversation. So
did you want to say anything in closing before we see you again, or just
no? Well, just, you know, come end of August, the second book, and the book, I don't even have a copy yet of my book. It came out. I should be actually supposed to be here today. Sasquatch Down the Rabbit Hole of Strangeness #2 will be coming out sometime after the end of August, because that's my deadline to get them everything. I'm just waiting on David. So Sasquatch Down the Rabbit Hole of Strangeness 1 is on Amazon right now. And it's basically the orange book with an extra chapter and about another 10 pages on top of that.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. So anyway.
Okay, my friend. Well, hey, I figure like we're like kind of like fast friends now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Should we set a date or something? Or
I'm really glad you're on our show, because you've got that. You know, the people who do hardcore body only blood and guts Sasquatch can relate to you, and the people who do family Sasquatch and friend Sasquatch and psychic Sasquatch, they can relate to you too. You bridge both worlds, and that's really needed, because those worlds need to somehow at least have an interface so that they can slide over this way. Because I'm not against the blood blood and bone Sasquatch. Christ was blood and bone, and then look what he did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And so they're here. They have to operate on our plane, and so they have physical attributes, and they operate on our plane, and they operate. on a different
so
plane.
all those researchers are actually in the plus column.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, guys.
as far as a date, yeah, I'll get a hold of you
Yeah, just
very,
get a
very
hold.
shortly, and we'll set up a date.
Yeah, September's mostly open, but the daytime is actually better.
Give me a date right now if you want. Give me a date right now if you
Try
want.
not to
Well-
be so shy next time, okay?
Yeah.
Speak up a little bit.
Let me look at my calendar a couple of times. I'm
Try to
going
speak up a little bit next time. You're very, very shy. Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I'll cry for you before I come on. No,
Hey,
let me send me your
we
September
have a record,
calendar.
at least, of the men who've cried on our show.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah, next time we want it. Next time we don't want that phony ass.
You get somebody
improv
who's
stuff. We want you
friends
to
with
really
Sasquatch,
actually
loves
cry.
Sasquatch, and they talk about how much they've been touched by Sasquatch. They broke down to tears. That's called the love zap.
That's awesome.
They don't ever talk about that. Nobody else talks about it. They talk about the zap or whatever. I don't know what they call it, the infrasound or something, which I don't think is infrasound at all. It's something else.
Yeah, it's an easy go-to, when you can't explain it,
Yeah, but
telepathy or zapping.
yeah, it gets the job done.
Yeah. But send me your calendar, send me your open dates for like later September or October, and I'll look. I need to look.
You're making me sound like I've actually got a real legitimate show going on here.
Well,
Well, anytime you want to come
supposed to
on, but yeah.
So you can't have me on until February? Okay.
No, we can have you. We can have you on in a couple of weeks if you want
I'm
it.
trying to make you feel better. This guy is very
I
important.
tell you what, I'll step down and you can take my place as a guest host.
No.
I'm not-
You can do that, and
I'm
then
not qualified.
then I could come on as a guest.
Well,
Oh,
maybe
that would
for
be
one
cool.
show. We'll do that for one show.
Maybe.
But you actually, Mr. Beans gave me an idea. He said he used to be a yogi. Well, we should change the show to Yogi and Boo Boo.
Hey, boo boo.
Have a yogi and Boo Boo. Have Boo Boo.
Yogi.
God, now we're
Don't get me going on the cartoon characters.
Now we're
'cause I can do 'em
degressing
all.
instead of progressing.
Have Boo Boo. Ranger Smith. Pig and egg basket.
Auntie Yogi.
I'll have what he's smoking. But anyhow,
I quit that.
I enjoyed this. This was awesome, and we will do it whenever we plan to do it again. So,
Yep.
Everybody keep an open mind. Think things you used to think were bad thoughts, and just open your mind about things. Just there's things going on.
There's more. There's more to the story.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
guys.
Okay, so on behalf of Port Cunningham and the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Beans, this is the Pork and Beans Show. We'd like to thank you all for watching and patronizing.
I've
Hanging
got a
around
little
with the
food
show.
stain right
And,
there. See that's a food stain.
And thank you to our special guest, Carter Buschardt.
That's me.
Yep.
The
We'll see you
world
next time.
renowned,
All right, we will do it again, guys.
Carter Buschardt.
See you guys.
Yep, see ya.
See you.
Oh, we're still recording, so don't say anything stupid.
Well, that's kind of hard to do.
I gotta pee.
Yeah.
Is that stupid? Yeah. All right, we're gone.
See ya. That was fun, Mr. Beans. What an
was
amazing
fun.
guest.
I'm so glad you got him organized.
Yeah, and you know what? I've got a few people that I'm going to be getting on soon that I've learned about and am going to be in contact with just from that Hidden Existence show. Some other. You just got zapped. Some other.
No,
some
my
other,
thing,
yeah.
my penis has got flaccid.
I know that's why you have it, because it's like a.
This thing is like loosey goosey. It's like it's supposed to be like professional. I'm the most least professional, and my gizmo thing up there, $800 camera doesn't even work.
I just have the 10-cent stuff, and yet my voice projects so wonderfully that it.
I know, and
I
you
don't even
gotta
need the big mics or nothing. I'm just a natural.
I got an Apple Supreme. I got an Apple Supreme, and it doesn't. It's like pasty face Look at your rich texture.
One of these days, I'm going to get myself a real setup with a real mic and everything, and then I'm just going to blow your mind. Hello, everybody. This is Fort Cunningham. You know, like,
But this mic right here is like about $100, and then you got this little stand there's like about $30.
yeah, but you just have it because it looks like a penis.
I know. A black penis.
There's a joke there, but I want. Anyway, did you want to talk, or I guess
600-pound beaver? There's a joke there too.
You see, it was kind of hard not to see. This guy was an improv kind of comedian guy. It was very, very hard for me not to try to be, well, he's my cup of tea.
Well, he still has his main audience is still pretty much the ape only guys, but you can't, there's paranormal stuff going on in the world, so you gotta throw that in there, spice on the rice.
I don't know. I mean, look, if you're gonna investigate in something and you're leaving up the whole where all the knowing and the teaching and everything is, then sorry, what the hell are you wasting your time for? Just go and read a good book and take up knitting and watch the old Lucy reruns.
Well, it's kind of funny. It's sort of like these guys are out there researching the opposite sex, right? And so there's the people who research the opposite sex, but they never get married, right? So what do you actually know about the opposite sex? And I guarantee you, the opposite sex is not going to teach you anything. However, as soon as you get married to the opposite sex, you get teachings, you get lessons, your life changes.
That's why you're a bachelor.
That's why. Well, I've already gone through the lessons. Thank you.
Oh, you were married. I didn't know that.
Twice.
How many years were you married for? Twice.
Twice. I don't know. Not that long. Once for 4 years, and
shotgun wedding, or
another one for 4 years. Huh?
Did you have a shotgun wedding?
No. Yes and no. Once yes, once no.
Oh. So you've been married twice and for a total of 8 years.
Yeah. And I was in a long-term relationship for 13 years, so
excellent.
It wasn't marriage though.
Love 13, and marriage, love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. Dad was told by mother, you can't have one without the other. That's love right. And you know the song.
Well, that's the thing about the Sasquatch people, man. If you're just gonna research the opposite sex or the opposite of humans, you're never gonna get anywhere, man. You got to get out there and hey, how you doing? How you doing? Just ask the Sasquatch people, how you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah, ask me how you doing. You want to hang out sometime?
We had a good show.
What happens? Huh?
We had a good show today. I was probably the least obnoxious I ever was in any show.
You were excellent. You're excellent. If anything, I went over the line.
I was watching you and I'm saying, wait a minute, he's doing everything he told me not to do.
That's right.
Now I figured you out. You're trying to mute me because you want to do all the stuff I'm doing, but if I'm doing it, you can't do it.
I had to humble myself today because I had equipment failure. I'm sorry. I have equipment failure.
It didn't have to do with your large penis, did it?
My tackle.
It was your camera, right?
My internet tackle.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I guess we'll go. I'm excited. I'm going up in the woods today with Randy Brisson, the first guy I ever got connected to the Sasquatch with, my First Nations friend. You've seen him in my videos and talking about it and stuff. It's been a while, so I'm really excited about that.
I hope you get at least the address of that guy or the phone number of that guy to go visit him.
I think so. He's
can't
open
be
to
that
it.
far away. If he's in British Columbia, it can't be that far away.
He's about 3.5 hours away, but that's no big thing for me. I'd love to go up there and check it out.
Yeah, especially if he's got his own cabin or you can sleep in a tent or something.
Yeah, I'll go up there and spend a few days. Why not?
I guarantee his clan knows your clan, so it's
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd like to hear
Okay.
more about that. I'd like to hear more about that story. That sounds like 30 or 40 years. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to sign off too. I don't want to bend your ears.
Okay, Pork and
Yeah,
Beaners,
you
thanks a
made it
lot
to
for. By
2
the way, do
hours
you
and
have any
50
comments?
minutes.
Did you want to look at that or no? Or we're just gonna ignore them today?
Comments, yeah, you have the comments. You got Kevin Royce. He said good morning. Stacy Johnson Emmons. Hey guys, hi guys. Good morning, everyone. Randy Bell, description of my life. And Kevin Royce. I don't know why we have so few comments, but that's the way it rolled, I guess. Not that many people you know.
Well, they haven't realized that
comment.
this is the #1 Sasquatch show on the air because
Yeah,
we roll with anything goes. That's the difference.
I think it was a good show. World's
was a
greatest
good
show.
show.
No, the world's greatest show. We just need more viewers, more eyeballs.
Well, that's your job. You're the guy who knows well. You keep coaching me, and I'll get it right eventually.
You're doing good, man. 5 comments and 5 shares. So it was 5 shares was what I got in there while I was incognito.
Ah, okay. Okay, Mr. Beans. Well, I'll be talking to you soon, and thanks for showing up. And no,
We got a show on what, Sunday?
yeah, we're doing a show, the Hidden Existence show. We're going to be on,
That's going to be good. Yeah.
and then I guess on the Thursday after that, we have, who was that? Can you see? It was Terry Padroza, or coming up on Thursday.
Oh, Terry Pedraza. Yeah, he's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
He's
And
he's the guy who was partners. He was on the res squatching.
And,
The
that'll be a good show. And like I said, I think with this lady who does the Hidden Existence thing, I'm going to be able to tap into a whole lot of other people that we can invite on the show. So that's a win-win.
All right.
Okay, my friend, you are the best
Thanks,
co-host.
Paul.
You are the
Thanks,
best co-host
everybody.
on the planet, no matter what anybody says.
Love all our viewers. Love all our fans. Come and join the group and have some pork and beans.
See you later. Love everybody.
darling, are you talking to me? We have a message for you. Oh, what can it be? Children of must now become more friendly. Your leaders will not listen. But what can I do? People will listen to you. I'm just a powerful one. You try to help us and make them understand.
Street 100 miles an hour for no reason. The police stopped me for speeding. They said, "Why are you going so fast?" I said, "Why? I had my foot to the floor." It sends more gas through the carburetor. It makes the engine go faster. The whole car just takes off like that. I said, "See this right here? See this? This steers it."